Chapter 295. After the matter of the Qingxian sect came to an end for the time being, Jiang Xi took the time to take a look at the development of the Mountain Sea Star trade. The headquarters of the Mountain Sea Star trade was set up on a floating island in the sea next to Linhai City. The overall development in the past 2 years was good. This was because the One siblings had a deeper understanding of their ancestral refining inheritance. With their core technical guidance, the spiritual weapons refined by the refiners were mostly of excellent quality. With such an advantage, the business of the Mountain Sea Star trade had expanded to hundreds of life galaxies in the Pale Blue Star region. Of course, the main business was still low-grade spiritual weapons. Not to mention the low cost, the main reason was that the number of low-grade cultivators was the largest, and the market was large. The turnover of the Mountain Sea Star trade has increased from the initial 1 million low-grade spiritual crystals to the current 80 million low-grade spiritual crystals. Our farthest station has developed to the Orph Galaxy in the Pale Blue Star region. Shen Wanxi, the general manager of the Mountain Sea Star trade, proudly introduced the latest development of the group to Jiang Xi. Jiang Xi listened to Shen Wanxi's introduction and nodded slightly. His expression was indifferent, but his heart was shocked. In the past 2 years, he had been busy dealing with the Qingxian sect and did not pay much attention to the development of the Mountain Sea Star trade. He did not expect the Mountain Sea Star trade to develop so quickly. The total turnover in 2 years had increased by 80 times. The 80 million low-grade spiritual crystals turnover, after deducting all expenses, had at least 60% of the net profit, which was almost 50 million low-grade spiritual crystals. And he had half of the shares in the Mountain Sea Star trade, which was 25 million low-grade spiritual crystals. Back then, he had only invested 500,000. The spiritual weapon trade was indeed a top industry. This was robbery. However, the main contributor to the rapid development is Jiang Ji's 2 grand disciples. Now, the refiners of the Mountain Sea Star trade are almost treating them as grandmasters. He is being treated like a master craftsman. Shen Wanxi praised again. Well, not bad. Jiang Xi nodded lightly. He thought to himself, the refining inheritance of the One siblings was passed down by a Dao reunion expert. How can it be bad? Next, Jiang Xi looked around the headquarters of the Mountain Sea Star trade. He found that the One siblings were seriously guiding the refiners, so he did not disturb them. He left with a satisfied mood. With the Mountain Sea Star trade as a cash cow, he would not have to worry about the resources he needed for cultivation. Shen Wanxi respectfully sent Jiang Xi to the door until he could no longer see Jiang Xi's figure. Only then did he turn around and go back. As for the changes in Jiang Xi's cultivation, he didn't even ask. Firstly, he had to be polite and not pry into other people's cultivation. Secondly, in his opinion, Jiang Xi might have originally been in the late nascent soul stage, but he didn't show it before. Otherwise, it would have been very difficult for Jiang Xi to survive the Dao integration inheritance incident on Murong planet a few years ago if he had only been at the golden core stage. Only those in the late nascent soul stage could escape unscathed from such a situation. No matter what, Shen Wanxi now felt that he had made the right decision to meet Jiang Xi outside the teleportation hall on planet Songlan. This mysterious and noble descendant of an ancient family casually gave him a hand. From a small interstellar merchant, he had become an elite among the interstellar merchants. However, he knew that he was still far from being a big interstellar merchant. Therefore, he had to hold on tightly to Jiang Xi's thigh. Sooner or later, he would also become a big interstellar merchant. At night, when Yoxin and Wenfeng returned to Daodu Manor. During the day, they were guiding the artifact refiners. After learning that Jiang Xi had come to planet Songlan, they immediately returned. Greetings, Uncle Granduncle. The One siblings bowed. No need to be so polite. Let me ask you, is Shen Wanxi reliable? Jiang Xi asked directly, when Yoxin and Wenfeng looked at each other. Then Wenfeng said, based on my observations over the past 2 years, there are no problems at the moment. He's doing his best. He used to be the head hunter of the Darknet on planet Murong, and was good at gathering information. Naturally, he also had the ability to recognize people. Jiang Xi nodded slightly relieved. After all, the Mountain Sea Star trade was developing better and better, and the business side was in Shen Wanxi's hands. If it wasn't reliable, It would be easy for the Mountain Sea Star trade's vitality to be greatly damaged. Jiang Xi circled around in his heart, looking for an opportunity to make sure. It was not that he didn't trust others, but he had to be vigilant. However, after thinking for a while, he said to the one siblings, "Don't forget about cultivation. After all, cultivation is the foundation. The art of artifact refinement can be studied slowly. Don't worry, Uncle Granduncle. In fact, the one family's artifact refinement, inheritance, and cultivation complement each other. The higher the attainment of artifact refinement, the faster the improvement of cultivation." When Yoxin smiled, this surprised Jiang Xi a little. With a thought, he immediately searched for the inheritance memories of his master, Taoist Gu. Sure enough, he found the introduction of the one family inheritance, and it did mention this. Jiang Xi sighed in his heart. It was indeed a Tao integration inheritance. Then, he flipped his hand and took out a jade slip with a smile. "Yoxin, this is a formation inheritance that I've sorted out. Take it and study it. Don't spread it." "Aha! Thank you, Uncle Granduncle. I swear to the heavens that I will never spread it. Otherwise, I'll be struck by lightning." When Yoxin was very surprised and swore repeatedly, Jiang Xi smiled. He had promised to give Wen Yoxin the formation inheritance 2 years ago on Morong planet. The array formation inheritance in this jade slip was also carefully selected by him from his inherited memories. In total, it was less than 1% of the entire formation inheritance. However, if this 1% was spread, it would cause a great disturbance in the entire Blue Star region. Jiang Xi and Zhang Daodu would only be alone after the one siblings had left for the manor side courtyard. Zhang Daodu was also working hard on her cultivation. With the guidance of a Tao integration remnant soul, the little girl's cultivation progress was faster. If she didn't count the 3 hibernation upgrades, her current cultivation speed had increased by at least 10 times. Just now, when Jiang Xi was talking with the one siblings, Zhang Daodu was also listening. She said with a serious expression, "Brother, let me manage the Mountain Sea Star trade." "Manage it? Don't joke around. You're only 20 years old. The employees of the Mountain Sea Star trade are at least 100 years old. They're all very smart." Jiang Xi shook his head. "Humph, don't look down on me. I'm only 20 years old, but I have Oldine by my side. She's an old demon who has lived for more than 10,000 years. Zhang Daodu wrinkled her nose. Jiang Xi's eyes lit up. He had forgotten about this. With the tool refinement skills left behind by a Tao integration stage powerful being, he had no doubts about the future of the Mountain Sea Star trade. However, in the current Mountain Sea Star trade, only Wen Yoxin and Wen Feng could be considered as his own people. It was fine if the scale was small now, but if it grew larger one day, he wouldn't feel at ease without a reliable person to rely on. If Zhang Daodu took over the management, there would be no problem with Yin Tianqing's guidance. An old demon who had lived for more than 10,000 years had many tricks up her sleeves. Controlling an interstellar trading group would be child's play. Thus, the two of them happily made a decision. Zhang Daodu was naturally very happy. She cheered like a child who had received her favorite toy. This scene made Jiang Xi's eyelids twitch. He was considering whether to take back his previous decision. Chapter 296. In the end, Zhang Daodu stayed on planet Songlan and became the chairman of Shanghai Star Trade. She did not return to Earth with Jiang Xi, because she had her own considerations. Seeing that Jiang Xi's strength was increasing faster and faster, she would soon be unable to see Jiang Xi's back. Zhang Daodu did not want to chase after Jiang Xi all the time. She also wanted to help Jiang Xi do something. The appearance of Shanghai Star Trade gave her a chance. She decided to develop Shanghai Star Trade with the help of Oldine and become a powerful help on Jiang Xi's cultivation path. And Jiang Xi returned to Earth because there were still many things to deal with. For example, solving the monster problem that had plagued humans on Earth since the recovery of spirit energy. Counting the time, this problem had existed for a full 110 years. New Moon Year 99, December 31st. Today was the day that the fate of Earth would be changed. Earth, the Xia Kingdom, Xiantian City. On this day, a shocking scene took place. After the recovery of spirit energy, only the top powerhouses of the 5 major countries flew in the air and gathered here. This was only secondary. What was even more shocking was 10 terrifying great demon figures flew in the sky. They were the dragon python, black turtle, white crane, and lion king on land, the dragon whale king, octopus king, tiger shark king, seahorse king, turtle king, and crocodile king in the ocean. They were all at the golden core stage. If they did not know that the powerhouses of the 5 major countries had arrived at Xiantian City, everyone would have thought that the monsters were about to attack Xiantian City. At this time, in the largest conference hall of Xiantian City, there was a long wide table. The cultivators of Xia Kingdom were led by Jiang Xi and Huang Kuan. Xiantian and Li Baibai sat on the left and right sides of the table. On the left side of the long table, there were 6 golden core cultivators of the reclusive families, the Qin family, Shu Jia, Han family, and so on. Even the zombie Ma family's ancestor had come. On the right side of the long table, there were 4 golden core cultivators of Peacock Country, Shadow Country, Sacred Alliance, and Alpha Star among them. The gold core stage cultivator from the Alpha Star only broke through last year. The 4 of them frowned, feeling a little uneasy. He didn't know why Jiang Xi, who had been in seclusion for 3 years, suddenly summoned everyone. Last time, Jiang Xi's invasion drill had already scared them out of their wits. Today, I've gathered everyone here to discuss some matters with the great demons. But before that, we humans on Earth need to unify our battle lines. Jiang Xi knocked on the table and paused to attract everyone's attention. Let's put it simply. From today onwards, the Earth Alliance will be established. With my Xia Kingdom as the leader, it will be called the Great Xia Alliance. Does everyone agree or disagree? Jiang Xi smiled. His voice was soft but domineering. His gaze swept over the golden core cultivators of the hidden families and the other 4 countries. I have no objections. Huang Kuan was the first to speak. Among the people present, his cultivation was the lowest. He was only at the spirit nourishment stage, but he represented the Great Xia Kingdom. Agreed. Xiantian smiled. Agreed. Li Baibai also smiled. Agreed. Agreed. None of the 6 golden core cultivators of the hidden families objected. After all, they were also from the Great Xia Kingdom. Even the late-stage golden core elder of the Ma family agreed. It was as if Jiang Xi wasn't his enemy at all. In fact, the elder of the Ma family was now very afraid of Jiang Xi. He had lived for 1,000 years and had a keen sense. He could faintly feel a terrifying aura from Jiang Xi. Nascent soul. His stiff face was also filled with horror. He was scared. The only ones left were the 4 foreign golden core cultivators. They could be said to be the pillars of the 4 countries. They were the fundamental guarantee of survival, and deterred the monsters around the cities of their respective countries. Facing Jiang Xi's overbearingness, the 4 of them only felt extremely bitter in their hearts. They knew that this day had finally come. The cultivators of the Great Xia Kingdom were too strong. They couldn't catch up at all. Instead, the gap between them was getting bigger and bigger. Agreed. Everyone gritted their teeth and spat out these 2 words with difficulty. Very good. You will soon cheer for this decision. Jiang Xi chuckled. Bullshit. The 4 foreign cultivators squeezed out a smile on their faces, but they were cursing in their hearts. At this moment, Jiang Xi stood up and walked out. Let's go out and meet those great demons. Everyone followed. In the sky above Xiantian City, the 10 great demons were still hovering in the air. The great demons didn't know what Jiang Xi's purpose was. Because of the previous invasion of the foreign enemy, the dragon python and the black tortoise had witnessed Jiang Xi's strength. Under the propaganda of the 2 of them, the other great demons basically knew how terrifying Jiang Xi was. Therefore, they didn't dare to make a move now and could only wait here. Of course, there was also a great demon who was impatient. The tiger shark king from the Atlantic Ocean was tyrannical by nature, and had been waiting anxiously for a long time. The dignified king of the billions of sea monsters was actually waiting here for a small human. Moreover, he was being watched by these humans. The tiger shark king's aura was getting stronger and stronger, wanting to erupt. After the dragon python and the black tortoise tried to persuade him, they found that it was useless and ignored him. They knew that this demon was courting death. In fact, the tiger shark king lived in the depths of the Atlantic Ocean all year round and didn't pay much attention to the human cultivation world. Therefore, he didn't know how terrifying Jiang Xi was. What's more, He had always regarded humans as food. Even with the reminder of the dragon python and the black tortoise, he didn't believe that humans could be so strong. Everyone was at the gold core stage. Why was he so powerful? Whoosh! A total of 14 human cultivators appeared in front of them. Huang Kuan was at the spirit nurturing stage and couldn't fly yet. However, with Jiangxi's Gale domain, it didn't matter if he couldn't fly. Roar! Humans, what do you want to do? The Tiger Shark King roared with an aggressive aura. Jiangxi frowned slightly, thinking that today was a friendly negotiation. He relaxed his brows. Then he smiled and said, I want to discuss the future of humans and monsters with you. In short, I want you to move with the monsters on Earth. Move? My home is in the Atlantic Ocean. Where do you want me to move to? The Tiger Shark King's tone was very aggressive. Jiangxi smiled. I have prepared 4 grotto heavens for the monsters on land. As for the monsters in the sea, I have prepared a little more. A total of 6 grotto heavens. Each of these grotto heavens is enough to meet the normal survival needs of 100 million monsters. My request is, except for ordinary creatures, all the evolved and mutated monsters must move into these 10 grotto heavens. And you 10 gold core stage demons. Speaking of this, the Tiger Shark King suddenly said angrily, Human, you are courting death. You actually want to lock us up. Jiangxi's face turned cold, noisy. He directly slapped with his palm, and the Gale domain swept over with a whistling sound. Roar! What? The Tiger Shark King swung his tail and wanted to escape in horror. Crash! But how could a little early gold core stage escape from Jiangxi's attack? In just an instant, he was crushed by Jiangxi's palm. Chapter 297. The early gold core stage Tiger Shark King. After refining and condensing his spirit power, his huge body was still 10 feet long. At this time it instantly turned into a pile of flesh and blood, mixed with crushed bones. But it did not fall strange and terrifying. This scene stunned everyone and the demons. They couldn't believe it. Even the early gold core stage great demon couldn't withstand Jiangxi's palm. How powerful was Jiangxi? The eyes of the 4 foreign practitioners were filled with terror, lingering fear and relief. They finally understood why Jiangxi said that they would cheer for his decision. It turned out that disagreeing meant death. The 6 gold core stage cultivators of the reclusive family also looked at each other with a wry smile and helplessness. The protagonist of this era was not them after all, but the 3 in front of them, Jiangxi, Xiantian and Li Baibai. Jiangxi ignored the shock of these people and demons. He waved his hand and put the Tiger Shark King's flesh and blood essence into a new storage ring. Then he handed it to Huang Kuan and smiled, Elder Huang, with so much gold core stage flesh and blood essence, it is estimated that it can be used to cultivate several spirit nurturing stage martial artists for the military. Keep it well. Aha, is there such a good thing? I think it's better to kill all these great demons. Huang Kuan's eyes lit up. The 9 gold core stage great demons, including the dragon python and the black tortoise, were so scared that their bodies trembled. Of course Jiangxi couldn't really kill them. Keeping these great demons was still useful. When he explored the earth before, he had already figured out the distribution of the earth's monsters. The monsters on land and in the sea were added together, not counting those ordinary creatures that had not evolved and mutated. The number of F-class and above monsters exceeded 1 billion. 10 Grotto Heaven's secret realms. Now that the Tiger Shark King was dead, there were only 9 left. It was more than enough to put all these monsters in. These gold core stage great demons, as the kings of the earth's monsters, played a leading role. Well, it was equivalent to letting the gold core stage great demons help him manage the huge monster group in disguise. After the monsters moved in, Jiangxi would set up a sealing array at the entrance of these Grotto Heaven secret realms with his current attainments and formations. The sealing formations that he had set up were already sufficient. Next time, when the level of the array formation improved, he could just reinforce it. After all, the most powerful monsters on Earth were these few golden core realm monsters. Then, the 9 Grotto Heavens were divided into different levels of difficulty. They were simply named from the 1st secret realm to the 9th secret realm. The overall strength of the monsters living there increased accordingly. In the end, the Great Xia Alliance, which he had forcibly formed, was formed. With the Great Xia Kingdom as the leader, they would establish a global martial arts association. and establish a more perfect martial artist nurturing system. For example, he wanted to establish more college of martial arts and make the competition more reasonable. As for the 9 great secret realms where the monsters were sealed, they became the training grounds for human warriors. As for whether it was too extravagant to give these grotto heavens and secret realms to the monsters, Jiang Xi had already considered this beforehand. After his careful investigation of Earth, he found that there were more than 100 grotto heavens and secret realms of various sizes. As for these 9, he had checked them multiple times. They weren't very valuable. Even if they were valuable, he had already taken them away. For example, the grotto heaven secret realms in the 6 seas were all left behind by the oceanic race. They had long been empty. The 9 grotto heavens and secret realms also had one thing in common: they were large in size. The size of each secret realm was at least comparable to the Great Xia Kingdom. 2 of them were even comparable to the entire Asian continent. In this way, when human warriors went in to train, the situation was similar to when they were training in the wilderness. Jiang Xi had once imagined that he could slaughter all these monsters and turn them into experience points. However, after thinking about it, why kill them all? Couldn't he just raise them? Then he could keep these monsters and use them as sparring partners for the human warriors on Earth. After all, only by going through battles could one become stronger. In the more than 100 years since the recovery of spirit energy, the human warriors on Earth had gone through this. It could be said that Earth was Jiang Xi's foundation. Only when Earth's overall strength was stronger and more powerhouses appeared could Earth not be afraid of the changes that might occur in the future relying on him alone. History had proven that at any time, when a force could only rely on one person, it would decline and even perish. In the following year, the monsters on Earth carried out a great migration, and the human warriors also carried out a great integration at the same time. No matter when or where, there was no escape from the 4 words: the strong are respected. Jiang Xi's strength was enough to crush all the warriors and cultivators on Earth. No one dared to object. Even if there would only be one result: death. Those who submit to me will prosper, and those who oppose me will perish. This was the eternal truth. While Earth was undergoing these changes, Jiang Xi did not leave. He wanted to see the completion of these changes with his own eyes. During this period, he once again explored several important places. For example, Mount Tai, Mount E, and so on. Unfortunately, with his current strength, he couldn't find anything even after using his spiritual awareness to explore inch by inch in these places. Other than the slightly richer spirit energy, there was nothing else unusual. Perhaps my strength is not enough. Or perhaps there really is nothing left. Jiang Xi knew very well that these places, which had left a lot of color in myths and legends, were not as simple as they seemed on the surface. In addition to the ones on Earth, he also explored the 2 moons. The first moon was still dead silent and incomparably bleak. The dilapidated Guanghan Palace and the interstellar teleportation array told of the endless years here. Jiang Xi originally thought that with his current combat strength that had barely reached the early stage of the Essence Soul realm, he could touch the second moon that seemed to be in another time and space. Unfortunately, when he flew to the starry sky where the second moon was, it was still empty. Only his eyes could see it, but he could not touch it, nor could he touch it. His spiritual consciousness could not discover it either. The brand new Guanghan Palace was magnificent, as if there was a faint immortal sound echoing in this starry sky. This moon that had started the recovery of Earth's spirit energy once again, revealed its mysterious veil to Jiang Xi. Mysterious. There is only one conclusion. I am still too weak. Jiang Xi smiled helplessly. If he wanted to unveil these mysterious veils, he still needed to continue to work hard and cultivate. His cultivation had already reached the peak of the nascent soul realm. Among the 3 major Dao techniques, the Gale domain and the Fire domain had also reached perfection. Only the sword intent had been lagging behind. Now, if he wanted to improve his strength again, there were 2 ways. First, through the sword intent and the purple cloud sword scripture, he could deduce a higher level of the sword domain. At that time, his strength would be greatly enhanced, and his actual combat strength might be able to surpass the early stage of the Essence Soul realm in one fell swoop. After all, the sword domain was one of the top Dao domains. In the perfect state, it was comparable to an ordinary Dao of heaven and earth that had just been comprehended. Second, he could deduce the next stage of the Gale domain or the Fire domain, the path of Gale and the path of Fire. these two rare Taoists of heaven and earth, as long as he could deduce one of them. After the domain turned into Tao, he could refine his spiritual consciousness, condense his essence soul, and become an essence soul realm cultivator. Chapter 298. Taoist Ji's cultivation was already at the peak of the Tao integration stage when he was alive, and he had a very profound understanding of Tao techniques. In the inheritance memories that he left for Jiang Xi, there was also a detailed explanation of the types of Tao techniques. Simply put, the types of Tao techniques were divided into 3 levels: special, rare, and ordinary. In terms of power, the special level Tao techniques were naturally the strongest. For example, the Tao techniques comprehended through these weapons were all of the special level. The rare level, like the Gale and Li Fire that Jiang Xi had comprehended so far, belonged to this category. As for the ordinary level Tao techniques, they didn't seem to match Jiang Xi's status. Then Jiang Xi compared the 2 paths in front of him. Under the premise of perfection, the sword intent spirit power amplitude is 20 times, while the Gale intent and Li Fire intent are 10 times, a difference of 2 times. After the Gale domain and Li Fire domain are perfected, the spirit power amplitude will reach 100 times. If I can deduce the sword domain with the lowest deduction of 2 times, after the sword domain is perfected, the spirit power amplitude will reach 200 times. At that time my strength will directly double. It doesn't seem like much, but in a battle between experts sometimes a difference of 0.01 times can determine the outcome. The spirit power amplitude of Tao techniques couldn't be stacked, and he could only choose the highest one. Jiang Xi had already confirmed this point. If I can deduce the Gale Tao or Li Fire Tao, according to the previous 10 times advancement law, when these 2 Tao techniques of heaven and earth are perfected, they can provide a spirit power amplitude of 1,000 times. Obviously, the second path has higher benefits, but the difficulty of deduction is definitely greater. Jiang Xi's eyes flickered as he thought quickly. The benefits were average and the deduction difficulty was low. The benefits were high, and the deduction difficulty was high. Which path should he choose? After thinking about it, he shook his head and smiled. Is it just to consume more experience points? I'll just walk both paths. Therefore, when the great changes on Earth occurred, Jiang Xi also began his deduction path. Killing monsters, gaining experience points, and deducing Tao techniques. Although the monsters on Earth were moving, it was obvious that as they moved, there were much fewer monsters. Time passed, and in the blink of an eye, a year had passed. New Moon Year 101, January 5th. According to Jiang Xi's plan, Earth had finally completed its first major change. Very soon, after Jiang Xi had completed the sealing of the 9 great monster secret realms, humans would no longer be trapped in various cities. Under the guidance of the newly formed Great Xia Alliance, the humans on Earth began to unify and build new cities on the vast territories that they had recovered. Humans on Earth had finally entered a new stage. A better future. Jiang Xi and Jiang Dao flew side by side in the sky above various places on Earth, witnessing this huge construction scene that was in full swing. When he saw some teenagers in ragged clothes, they were working hard to move bricks. Jiang Dudu suddenly asked, "Brother, there won't be any more street kids in the future, right?" Compared to Jiang Xi, she was the one who was truly a vagabond. No one can guarantee that. There will always be vagrants in any era. It could only be said that under the new situation, there would be fewer and fewer homeless people. As long as they are willing to work hard, they will definitely have food, clothes, shelter, and necessities in the future, Jiang Xi said with a smile. That's good. Those who don't work hard deserve to starve to death. Jiang Dudu also laughed. The vast land of Earth had once again returned to the hands of humans. With abundant resources, those who worked hard would never fall to the point of wandering again. After the new situation on Earth was basically determined, Xian Tian and Li Baibai, the 2 battle maniacs, felt bored. So they took Hu Yen to other planets in the Blue Star region to train and fight. As for Jiang Xi and Jiang Dudu, they were leisurely shuttling back and forth between Earth and the Blue Star region. Occasionally, they would go to other galaxies in the Blue Star region to have fun. The Blue Star region had tens of thousands of habitable galaxies. As for the desolate galaxy, it was hard to count and was not included. Each of the tens of thousands of habitable galaxies was at the same level as the Milky Way, covering tens of thousands of habitable planets. If the two of them wanted to visit all these places, with their current cultivation and lifespan, there was probably no hope. Therefore, the two of them did not forget to cultivate. While Jiang Dudu was cultivating, she would also control the management and development of the entire Mountain Sea Star trade with the help of Yin Tiansheng. Although Yin Tiansheng was not a business genius, she used to be a Dao integration expert after all. She stood at a different height, so she had a better view of the overall situation than Jiang Xi and the others. With her help, the Mountain Sea Star trade controlled by Jiang Dudu developed even faster. The group's spiritual artifact business rapidly expanded in the major habitable galaxies in the Blue Star region. Just like that, time passed day by day, until one day 2 years later something unexpected happened. In the most remote Orph galaxy in the Blue Star region, the core planet Orph planet was a level 5 habitable planet. There were also nearly 10,000 habitable planets of level 4 and below. On this day, Jiang Xi and Jiang Dudu visited Orph planet. At the same time as the chairman of the Mountain Sea Star trade, Jiang Dudu also had the purpose of inspecting the group's branches. 4 years ago, the Mountain Sea Star trade's business expanded here. At the headquarters of the Mountain Sea Star trade on Orph planet, Jiang Dudu expressionlessly checked a jade slip with her spiritual sense. This jade slip contained the detailed account books of the Mountain Sea Star trade in the Orph galaxy for the past 4 years. The general manager of the station, He Rui, an early-stage nascent soul cultivator, was standing aside. At this time, Jiang Xi acted as if he was invisible and just watched quietly from the side. He found that Jiang Dudu's eyebrows raised slightly. He was very familiar with this action. The little girl was angry. Sure enough, half a day later, Jiang Dudu frowned and said, "Manager He, explain to me the situation of the spiritual artifacts entering and leaving the warehouse on White Bird Planet, Chella Planet, Yucca Planet. These 19 planets in the past 3 years." He Rui's heart skipped a beat, but his expression remained calm. He smiled without changing his expression and said, "Chairman, there are no interstellar teleportation arrays on White Bird Planet, Chella Planet, and the rest of the 13 planets. They need to use flying ships to transport spiritual artifacts. The interstellar routes from Orph planet to these planets are filled with galactic pirates. Our caravans are often attacked." After a while, Jiang Xi and Jiang Dudu left the Mountain Sea Star trade's headquarters on Orph planet. "Why did you stop investigating?" Jiang Xi was a bit confused. This was not in line with Jiang Dudu's personality. Beat the grass to scare the snake and then fish. Jiang Dudu's eyes flashed with wisdom. "Oh, the problems in that account book are not just limited to the 13 planets. It can be said that it's rotten to the core. The value of the spiritual artifacts involved is as high as 4 million low-grade spirit crystals. Then just send He Rui to the Dao Alliance's Heavenly Court office and deal with him according to the Dao Alliance's rules. I don't think this matter is that simple. Even if we deal with him, the root of the problem is still not solved. In the future there will be Wang Rui, Zhang Rui, Li Rui and so on. Then what do you plan to do? Let's go to White Bird Planet and swagger there. It's a good opportunity to inspect the place and see if there are galactic pirates there. I've never seen a galactic pirate in my life." Jiang Dudu waved her hand. Chapter 299. Jiang Xi and Jiang Daodu drove the flying ship away from Aofu Star and flew towards White Bird Star. Ever since he handed over the Mountain Sea Star trade to Jiang Daodu, he did not plan to interfere. In the past 3 years, Jiang Daodu improved very quickly. Not only did her cultivation reach the middle stage of Golden Core, in the field of business she showed outstanding talent. Now, many of the decisions of the Mountain Sea Star trade came from Jiang Daodu. Yin Tiansheng acted as a think tank most of the time, standing from a higher point of view and providing advice. So this time Jiang Xi wanted to see how Jiang Daodu would solve such a serious business corruption. 4 million low-grade spirit crystals was already more than the entire wealth of an early-stage nascent soul cultivator. If it was not dealt with, this snowball would only get bigger and bigger. After all, the Mountain Sea Star trade was also growing. At the same time, in a luxurious manner on Aofu Star, He Rui stood respectfully in front of a young cultivator. The young man's face was handsome, but it revealed a kind of feminine aura. "Young Master Yuan, they really went to White Bird Star. Not bad, you did well. From today onwards, You are the first-level manager of Flying Rainbow Star Trade. Our business in the Aofu star system will also be handed over to you, and you can get 10% of the profits. The young man smiled. Thank you, young Master Yuan. Hirue was overjoyed. Then he asked hesitantly, Young Master Yuan, what do we do next? What do we do? Of course we kill them. They dare to steal our business, isn't that courting death? The young man said casually. Hirue was relieved. The only thing he was afraid of was Jiang Xi. It would be good if he died. Moreover, he was full of confidence in young Master Yuan's strength and methods. This young Master Yuan in front of him was called Yuan Changshua, a genius of Flying Rainbow sect. He had cultivated for less than 400 years and had already reached the middle stage of nascent soul. At the same time, he was in charge of Flying Rainbow sect's important source of wealth, Flying Rainbow Star Trade. If he could cultivate to the nascent soul stage within 1,000 years, he would have a chance to become the next sect master. As for the Soaring Rainbow sect, they were even worse. This was a top immortal Dao sect in the Kanglan Star region, second only to the Zongyun sect in terms of comprehensive strength. As for the sect master of the Soaring Rainbow sect, he was at the late stage of the primordial soul stage and was extremely powerful. It was even rumored that there was a Dao integration stage patriarch within the sect. Therefore, with this comparison, in Hirue's eyes, the Mountain Sea Star Trade was nothing. The Soaring Rainbow Star Trade was backed by the Soaring Rainbow sect. As for the Mountain Sea Star Trader, there was only the late nascent soul stage cultivator that he had just met. Therefore, when Yuan Zhangshua found him 2 years ago, he didn't know what to do. He didn't even think about it before joining Flying Rainbow Star Trade. This time, when Hirue heard that the chairman of the Mountain Sea Star Trade Association was coming to inspect the off-planet branch, he immediately informed Yuan Zhangshu. That was why Jiang Dudu had discovered the problem with the spiritual weapon inventory. In fact, he didn't take Jiang Dudu, who was in the middle stage of the Gold Core realm, seriously. He was only afraid of Jiang Xi, who was in the late nascent soul stage, so his attitude was very respectful. Hirue was very confident that his fake account book was flawless. The problem with the spiritual weapon inventory on the 13 planets was deliberately revealed under Yuan Zhangshua's instructions. The only thing that surprised Hirue was that it only took Jiang Dudu a short time to discover this problem. He thought that this little girl in the middle stage of the Gold Core realm would take 10 days to half a month to figure it out. He didn't expect that she would discover it after half a day. No matter what, these two people with the surname Jiang are going to die. The White Bird planet was about 0.5 light-years away from the off-planet. It would take half a year to reach it if one maintained the speed of light. But there was one thing to mention here, which was what would happen when one's speed reached the speed of light. After the speed of light reaches the speed of light, one can travel to the source space, not the ordinary starry sky travel. Compared to the universe, the source space is 3,600 times smaller, 3,600 to 1. In other words, if the distance between the same two planets in the universe is 3,600 light-years, then the distance in the source space is shortened to 1 light-year. Under the condition of flying at 1 time the speed of light, one can travel 3,600 light-years through the source space in 1 year. Jiang Xi recalled in his heart. This was the information he had long learned through his inherited memories. It was just that in the past, he had always used the interstellar teleportation array to travel, and had never used a flying boat for long-distance interstellar travel. It was worth mentioning that the flying boat he was using now was obtained when he killed the sect master of the Qingxian sect, Qingyi. It was a high-grade spiritual weapon, and the speed of a high-grade flying boat could reach 1 time the speed of light, which satisfied the minimum requirements for the source space travel. 0.5 light-years in the universe traveling through the source space, the distance is shortened by 3,600 times. It only takes 1 hour and a quarter to reach the White Bird planet. However, Daodu's goal is to fish, so he definitely can't travel through the source space. Otherwise, where can he go to fish? Jiang Xi drove the flying boat and flew at sublight speed, slowly heading to the White Bird planet. Speaking of which, this was the first time they were traveling in the universe like this. The two of them leaned side by side and looked at the universe through the formation barrier of the flying boat. They admired all kinds of celestial bodies and felt the magic and tranquility of the universe. They didn't feel lonely or bored. It was as if such a scene wouldn't be boring for 10,000 years. A month later, They passed by a desolate galaxy. There were meteorites everywhere. There were no stars, only a few dead planets. Jiang Xi frowned slightly. After his cultivation reached the perfected nascent soul realm, the detection limit of his spirit sense had reached 1,000 kilometers. He found that a black flying boat appeared in the starry sky about 800 kilometers away. Space pirates? It was as if this flying boat had been waiting for them here for a long time. Soon, the other party arrived in front of Jiang Xi's flying boat and blocked its way. There really are galactic pirates? Zhang Daodu stood up in a flash. It's not space pirates. It seems that Helyui's problem is serious. He's on that flying boat now. Jiang Xi's expression was serious. Brother, I seem to have seen that flying boat somewhere. Seems to be flying rainbow star trade. It seems that Helyui is not only corrupt, but also a traitor. Zhang Daodu's expression turned cold. The biggest star trade group in the Blue Star region was, of course, the Blue Cloud Star Trade. And the biggest spiritual weapon trade group was the Flying Rainbow Star Trade. As the chairman of the Mountain Sea Star Trade, Zhang Daodu naturally knew about the situation of her competitors. Even if she wasn't sure whether the black flying boat was from the Flying Rainbow Star Trade, Helyui's appearance on that flying boat already explained a lot of things. Yes, the other party brought 10 Yuaning realm cultivators. It seems that it was premeditated. Jiang Xi nodded. 10 Yuaning realm cultivators? Brother, can you do it? Why don't we retreat? Zhang Daodu's expression suddenly changed. They were not space pirates. Hey, can a man say no? Jiang Xi knocked on her head. Then he flashed through the array and appeared in the starry sky. Take the initiative to attack. Zhang Daodu looked at Jiang Xi's back. Although she was worried, she was not afraid. Because Jiang Xi was there, she didn't need to be afraid of anything. Chapter 300. At the same time, there were a total of 10 nascent soul cultivators, including Hirue. 9 of them had already left the flying ship and were charging over. The leader of the group was a late-stage nascent soul cultivator. He held a long spear and exuded a powerful aura. Uncle Chang, kill them for me. The mid-stage nascent soul Yuan Zhangshua did not leave the black flying ship. Instead, he commanded it remotely. He had already learned from Hirue that one of the 2 people from the Mountain Sea Star Trade was a late-stage nascent soul cultivator. Therefore, he brought most of the nascent soul cultivators from the Flying Rainbow Star Trade. Fortunately, great-grandfather supported me and even assigned Uncle Chang to me. Otherwise, I wouldn't have been able to mobilize so many nascent soul cultivators. Yuan Zhangshua seemed to be very relaxed in a situation where he could crush the other party with absolute strength. His great-grandfather was the current sect master of the Flying Rainbow sect. Uncle Chang was naturally the late-stage nascent soul cultivator. His name was Yuan Chang, and he was his great-grandfather's servant. A mere late-stage nascent soul cultivator dares to steal business from the Flying Rainbow Star Trade? He won't even know how he died. Seeing the young man with the long sword also leave the flying ship and step into the starry sky, Yuan Zhangshua smiled. The next moment, what? His smile froze. In the desolate star system densely filled with meteorites, 9 nascent soul cultivators, led by the late-stage nascent soul cultivator Yuan Chang, charged toward Jiang Xi at an extremely fast speed. Yuan Chang took the lead, his long spear like a dragon. A majestic spear shadow that was tens of thousands of meters long swept out 70% of the Dao domain. Behind him, there were 8 other nascent soul cultivators. There were early-stage and mid-stage nascent soul cultivators. Among them was the early-stage nascent soul cultivator, Hirue. The 8 of them also made their moves, erupting with astonishing energy attacks. The dark starry sky suddenly lit up. It was as if a grand fireworks party was being held. Colorful energy surged wildly and was extremely dazzling. Even the late-stage nascent soul cultivator Yuan Chang did not have the confidence to take on so many powerful attacks at this moment. Jiang Xi's expression was very calm. The gale domain around him spiraled as he flew across the sky. He flashed through the starry sky at an extremely fast speed, leaving behind afterimages. The high-grade spiritual artifact in his hand, the killing shadow sword, condensed a dark red sword shadow, leave fire domain power. With a wave of his sword, A sword shadow flew out along with a gust of wind. Noiselessly, it penetrated the spear shadow that was over 10,000 meters long. The scene was extremely strange. The mighty spear shadow actually dissipated into thin air. Moreover, the sword shadow's power did not decrease. In the blink of an eye, it defeated the attacks of the other 8 people. What? Invincible nascent soul. This scene made Yuan Zhongshua's face change abruptly. He was so scared that he sat up on the deck. Then he drove the flying boat away from this place. In the blink of an eye, it reached the speed of light. The black flying ship disappeared into the origin space. Similarly, Yuan Chang's expression changed drastically. He no longer cared about cursing Yuan Zhongshua. Instead, he looked at Zhang Xi's rapidly approaching figure in horror. Invincible nascent soul. As a late-stage nascent soul realm cultivator, he was naturally aware of the situation when a nascent soul realm cultivator attacked. Perfect control of the original infant stage spiritual energy and the power of the domain. And Zhang Xi's sword was just like that. His spirit power and domain power did not dissipate in the slightest. Completely condensed into one. Compared to that, his spear just now had a very mixed spirit power and domain power, and the degree of condensation was poor. Retreat, retreat, retreat. He roared and transmitted his spiritual sense to everyone. Without him saying, He Rue and the other original infant stage cultivators also knew. They turned and fled at top speed. Since you've come, don't leave. Zhang Xi's eyes were cold and murderous. He originally thought it was a business corruption incident, but he did not expect it to be an unruly business competition incident. It was very bad. When it came to chasing and escaping, the Gale domain had never disappointed Zhang Xi. Whoosh! The Gale domain immediately spread out, changing the vacuum environment of the universe. Up and down within a radius of 1,000 kilometers, the Gale howled, forming a spherical space. The casting range of the Dao technique depended on the detection limit of the cultivator's spiritual sense. As the caster, Zhang Xi's cultivation was already at the peak of the original infant stage. His spiritual sense could cover 1,000 kilometers. The 9 original infant stage cultivators who were running for their lives were directly trapped in the Gale domain, and their speed dropped sharply. This Dao domain, 1,000 kilometers. Invincible nascent soul indeed. And it's a wind-related Dao technique. It's over. Yuan Chang despaired. Whoosh! Like the other 8, he tried to use his strongest attack, trying to disperse the Gale domain's power that was binding them. But it was useless. Even though he had comprehended 70% of his Dao domain, he could not shake Zhang Xi's Gale domain. This was because Zhang Xi's Gale domain was a rare Dao technique, while his mystic water domain was only a normal Dao technique. Their attacks were destined to be like throwing eggs at a rock. Fellow Taoist, please spare me. I'm willing to give you all my life savings. Yuan Chang chose to beg for mercy. No need. Zhang Xi was unmoved. His figure flashed and caught up with Yuan Chang. A sword condensed again. The sword did not have any energy waves, but it faintly emitted a dark red glow, emitting a terrifying aura. I've cultivated for 2,000 years and finally reached the late stage of the original infant stage. Fellow Taoist, you are so vicious. I'll drag you down with me even if I die. Yuan Chang roared when he saw that his pleading was futile. Whoosh! The immense spiritual power of the late stage of the original infant stage surged violently. His entire body began to expand, and he was about to self-destruct. This trick again. What a joke. Only you are allowed to kill me, but I'm not allowed to kill you? Zhang Xi sneered. Whoosh! The sword stabbed out lightly, but it emitted a terrifying aura. The sword shadow flew past, and the starry sky trembled. In an instant it traversed a distance of 100 kilometers. It pierced into Yuan Chang's expanding body. You have killed a late-stage original infant stage cultivator. Experience points plus 3,800. Boom. Boom. A violent explosion occurred in this group of meteorites. The meteorites within a few hundred kilometers shattered and turned into smaller meteorites. It was like the end of the world. In the face of such a powerful explosion, Zhang Xi only had a thought. He used the Gale domain and Li Fire domain to protect himself and Zhang Daodu, who was on the flying ship behind him. As for the 8 early and middle stage original infant stage cultivators, they were miserable. The 2 early-stage original infant-stage cultivators closest to him were blown to pieces by the power of the explosion. The other 6 people also suffered injuries of varying degrees. Director Jiang, please spare us. Senior, please spare us. He Rui and the other 6 people were begging for mercy. They were bound by the Gale domain and could no longer escape. Jiang Xi was expressionless. He took light steps and flashed in front of one of them. When the sword was drawn, the person died. You have killed a early-stage original infant-stage cultivator. Experience points plus 3,000. You have killed a middle-stage original infant-stage cultivator. Experience points plus 3,400. In an instant, only He Rui and another middle-stage original infant-stage cultivator were left. Director Jiang, please spare us. They forced me to do it. Please spare us. He Rui almost knelt on the ground and begged for mercy. Unfortunately, he was only an early-stage original infant-stage cultivator. He could not move at all under the restraint of the Gale domain. Forced? Jiang Xi sneered. He pressed his hand on He Rui's head. Soul Search. Chapter 301. After a while, Jiang Xi returned to his flying ship. Big bro, are they people from Flying Rainbow Star Trade? Zhang Daoda walked up and asked. Yes. Jiang Xi nodded and then said. And a big fish. The early-stage nascent soul realm cultivator who drove the black flying ship away at the beginning is Yuan Zhangshua, who is in charge of Flying Rainbow Star Trade. This was the information he obtained from Helyui and the early-stage nascent soul realm cultivator just now. The black flying ship was also a high-grade spirit artifact, so it would be impossible to catch up with it now. Yuan Zhangshua? No wonder. Relying on the excellent quality of our spiritual tools, our Mountain Sea Star Trade has occupied the spiritual tool market of thousands of habitable galaxies in the pale blue star region in recent years. Although I have deliberately avoided Flying Rainbow Star Trade, sometimes the information is not in place, so it is inevitable to touch the other party's market. Jiang Dudu suddenly understood. Soon she frowned slightly. This is troublesome. We are not afraid of direct business competition, but we are afraid of the other party's tricks. We can't afford to offend Flying Rainbow Sect now. I thought you were not afraid of anything. Jiang Xi joked. I am not a fool. Flying Rainbow Sect is the second most powerful immortal sect in the Blue Star region. The current sect master is a late-stage nascent soul realm cultivator, and it is said that they have a Dao integration stage ancestor. Flying Rainbow Star Trade is the most important source of Flying Rainbow Sect's assets. If we touch their cake, it is normal for them to retaliate. But I didn't expect Flying Rainbow Sect's revenge to come so quickly. They don't follow the rules and don't give us any chance to develop. Jiang Dudu's tone was full of worry. We can give up the development of Mountain Sea Star Trade first. When we become stronger in the future, we can regroup and take back the market. Jiang Xi smiled. He didn't want Jiang Dudu to worry too much. He just wanted her to be happy. Is that so? Mountain Sea Star Trade is your life's work. I don't want it to decline in my hands. Jiang Dudu still didn't want to give up. As long as we can live, we will come back sooner or later. Jiang Xi smiled and comforted. All right then, but it's such a pity. Jiang Dudu was a little dejected. Jiang Xi stood on the deck of the airship and looked at the endless starry sky with a firm gaze. Of course, he also felt that it was a pity that the Mountain Sea Star Trade had grown so much in just 6 short years. Their turnover had increased from 1 million lower spiritual crystals to 1 billion. It was conceivable that the Mountain Sea Star Trade would become a huge interstellar trading group in the future. However, based on the current situation, they were indeed not a match for the Soaring Rainbow Sect. Not to mention whether there was a Dao integration stage patriarch. Just the late-stage primordial soul stage sect leader was not someone they could deal with. Not to mention the Soaring Rainbow Sect had many other experts. Just like this time they had mobilized so many nascent soul stage cultivators, and there was even a late nascent soul stage cultivator among them. It wouldn't be surprising if another primordial spirit cultivator appeared. The Flying Rainbow Star Trade under the Flying Rainbow Sect was the largest spiritual artifact trading group in the Blue Star region. Jiang Xi was very clear that if the Mountain Sea Star Trade wanted to develop, it would not be able to avoid them. It would inevitably come into contact with the other party's commercial market. Through this robbery, He could tell that the other party was not the kind of person who took the path of legitimate commercial competition. For the time being, he would hide as much as he could. Therefore, it was a good choice to avoid the sharp edge. When his strength increased, the Mountain Sea Star trade would have greater development. By then, he would have more resources. The people around him, Jiang Dudu, Xian Tianli, Bai Bai, the One siblings, etc., would also have grown up and would not be afraid of the soaring rainbow sect. Of course, this was not something that could be done overnight. It would take 100 years or even 1,000 years. However, Jiang Xi could afford to wait. After all, he was only 29 years old. Compared to those nascent soul-stage-old monsters who were hundreds or even thousands of years old, he was still a teenager. After that, Jiang Xi and Jiang Dudu did not continue to fly to the White Bird planet. The two began their return journey and flew to Orf planet. They wanted to use the interstellar teleportation array there to return to the Blue Star and consolidate the spiritual artifact business of the Mountain Sea Star trade. Therefore, soon, the Mountain Sea Star trade announced a large-scale withdrawal from all life planets. This caused quite a stir in the cultivation world of the Kanglan Star region. Because the Mountain Sea Star trade had developed too quickly in the past few years, the high-quality spiritual artifacts quickly occupied the spiritual artifact market of many life planets. Many people were puzzled. What caused the rapidly expanding Mountain Sea Star trade to reduce the market? Some people guessed that it might be because of pressure from the Blue Cloud Star trade or the Flying Rainbow Star trade. There was a lot of discussion, but no one had a definite answer. The Mountain Sea Star trade did not announce the reason. Flying Rainbow Galaxy, Flying Rainbow Planet. A long rainbow hung in the sky above Flying Rainbow Planet, as if it had been there since ancient times. Yuan Zhangshua walked out of the interstellar teleportation array with a gloomy face. Previously, when he saw that it was an invincible nascent soul stage cultivator who attacked him, he quickly fled on his flying boat. After returning to Orf planet, he did not dare to stay there and directly took the interstellar teleportation array back to Flying Rainbow planet. This was the headquarters of the Flying Rainbow sect. Damn it! Damn it! An invincible nascent soul stage cultivator. I lost 8 nascent soul stage cultivators and even Uncle Chong died. Even though he was safe, Yuan Zhangshua was still furious. Those 8 nascent soul stage cultivators were the foundation of his control over the Flying Rainbow Star trade. As for Hirue, he did not put him in his eyes. He was just a chess piece. Yuan Zhangshua knew that although his great-grandfather was the sect master of the Flying Rainbow sect, he was not the only successor. He also had competitors. The Flying Rainbow Star trade was one of the most important sources of wealth for the Flying Rainbow sect. If something happened to the Flying Rainbow Star trade in his hands, there was no need to think. He would not be able to become the sect master anymore. Yuan Zhangshua exuded a tyrannical aura as he flew towards the Flying Rainbow sect's sacred ground altar. This time he came back not only because he was afraid of that invincible nascent soul stage cultivator. Because of the death of so many nascent soul stage cultivators, there were already people in the sect who wanted to kick him out of the Flying Rainbow Star trade. Therefore, he had to come back and meet his great-grandfather, although his great-grandfather had not contacted him since the beginning. Uncle Chong was my great-grandfather's closest servant. Now that he died because of me, my great-grandfather will definitely be angry. Yuan Zhangshua was also very worried and uneasy. If his great-grandfather alienated him because of this, he would lose his biggest backer. Then he would really be finished. The sacred ground altar was located in the Flying Rainbow Grotto Heaven, and was heavily guarded. The sect master of the Flying Rainbow sect was in seclusion here. Before Yuan Zhangshua reached the entrance of the Flying Rainbow Grotto Heaven, he restrained his tyrannical emotions and walked forward respectfully. Uncle Chu, I want to see my great-grandfather. The person guarding the Flying Rainbow Grotto Heaven was a late-stage nascent soul stage cultivator. That person's face was cold and did not give the successor of the sect master any face. Go in. The gatekeeper formed a seal and opened the entrance of the Flying Rainbow Grotto Heaven. Yuan Zhangshua smiled bitterly in his heart. He bowed and flew in. He understood that it was because of the previous robbery. Because Uncle Chong and Uncle Chu were close friends who had known each other for more than 1,000 years. In the past, Uncle Chu was very friendly to him. Now it had completely changed. Chapter 302. In the flying rainbow grotto heaven, the heaven and earth spirit chi was extremely rich. In some places, the spirit chi had even condensed into a spirit spring. The sacred altar of the flying rainbow sect stood at the core of the grotto heaven's secret realm, and was surrounded by a spirit chi lake. Spirit chi filled the air and the dense aura made the place look like a fairyland. Only those who have perfected the Tao of heaven and earth have the ability to open up a grotto heaven's secret realm. However, to open up a grotto heaven's secret realm of such a scale, one must be at the Tao integration stage. Tao integration stage, lifespan of 10,000 years, Yuan Zhangshua thought in his heart and was extremely envious. He then took a deep breath and flew toward the sacred altar. He did not dare to fly too fast as he was afraid of disturbing the seniors of the sect who were cultivating in seclusion in the flying rainbow grotto heaven. He then flew all the way to the spirit lake where the sacred altar was located. There was a black palace there. Great-grandfather, great son Zhangshua requests an audience. Yuan Zhangshua knelt in front of the palace. Come in. A leisurely voice came from the palace. Yuan Zhangshua entered the palace respectfully. The sect leader of the Flying Rainbow sect, Yuan Mu, was sitting at the top of the palace. He was a late essence soul stage cultivator. Although he had cultivated for more than 3,000 years, he still looked like a young man. His face was very similar to Yuan Zhangshua's, handsome and feminine. Zhangshua, what's the matter? Great-grandfather, great-grandson is here to ask for forgiveness. This time, in order to deal with the Flying Rainbow Star Trade's competitors, I'm here to ask for forgiveness. In the end, I implicated Uncle Chong and even lost 7 nascent soul stage cultivators of the sect. I deserve to die. Please punish me, great-grandfather. Yeah, you deserve to die. You're too impatient. You didn't investigate the enemy's situation in advance and acted rashly. Do you know the enemy's strength? I thought the enemy was a late nascent soul stage cultivator. I didn't expect him to be an invincible nascent soul stage cultivator. You've disappointed me. Yuan Mu suddenly sighed. You deserve to die. Yuan Zhangshua was terrified and quickly knelt on the ground. Yuan Mu continued, there's not only an invincible nascent soul stage cultivator behind the Mountain Sea Star Trade, there's also a late essence soul stage cultivator. Late essence soul stage cultivator? Yuan Zhangshua was shocked. Let's put this matter aside for now. Great-grandfather, even if it's a late primordial soul stage cultivator, our soaring rainbow sect doesn't need to be afraid, right? We still have the patriarch. There's no need to disturb the ancestral patriarch over such a trivial matter. What I said was temporary. In the next 10 years, don't target the Mountain Sea Star Trade anymore. Yuan Mu said in a low voice. He was very patient with his most doted great-grandson. Great-grandfather, why is that? In another 10 years, the Mountain Sea Star Trade will really expand. Yuan Zhangshua was unwilling to give up. If they didn't deal with Mountain Sea Star Trade and allowed it to develop freely, wouldn't that reduce the strength of Flying Rainbow Star Trade? That was his capital to compete for the position of the next sect leader. He came back this time with the purpose of asking for help. He asked his great-grandfather to send the nascent soul realm experts of the sect to deal with the invincible nascent soul realm cultivator from the Mountain Sea Star Trade. The 9 Realms Battle of the Tao Alliance that happens once every 10,000 years is about to take place. The sect doesn't have the energy to deal with such trivial matters. Yuan Mu explained. 9 Regions Genius Battle. Yuan Zhangshua's expression changed drastically. Then, he thought of something and asked, Great-grandfather, which of the 3 gates and 6 sects is hosting this time? The 3 gates and 6 sects. Apart from the transcendental sects like Taoism, Buddhism and Sword Gate, the other 6 sects take turns hosting the 9 Regions Genius Battle. This time it's Purple Heaven sect's turn. Yuan Mu said. Purple Heaven sect. Yuan Zhangshua was fascinated. Apart from the 3 gates and 6 sects, the Purple Heaven sect was the strongest. Great-grandfather, can I participate? The first requirement of the 9 Regions Genius Battle is that you must not be more than 300 years old. Yuan Zhangshua smiled bitterly and said, Then I can't participate. It's useless even if you participate. You can be considered a genius in Flying Rainbow Star Region, but in Azure Star Region you can't even be ranked, let alone compared to the billions of geniuses in the Tao Alliance. Yuan Mu said mercilessly. He continued, this time according to the requirements of the Tao Alliance Heavenly Court, our Flying Rainbow sect has selected 100,000 talented young cultivators from more than 50,000 planets. They will be trained in Flying Rainbow Grotto Heaven for a period of time. If one of them can make it out of Azure Star Region selection battle, I will be satisfied. Yuan Zhongshua's eyes widened. 100,000 young cultivators selected from more than 50,000 planets couldn't even make it out of Azure Star Region? Alright, you can leave now. Cultivate well and forget about this matter. Be careful next time. Yuan Mu waved his hand. As for the death of 8 nascent soul stage cultivators, he didn't care at all. As a late-stage nascent soul stage cultivator, he had long set his sights on the Tao integration stage. Great-grandson thanks great-grandfather. Yuan Zhongshua was pleasantly surprised and quickly left. After leaving Flying Rainbow Grotto Heaven, he looked at the rainbow in the sky. He thought that the 9 Regions Tao Alliance would be lively this time. The geniuses of the 9 Regions Tao Alliance that appeared once every 10,000 years. Countless geniuses would gather in one place. As for the Mountain Sea Star region, when Yuan Zhongshua thought of this, his eyes were filled with ruthlessness. Although great-grandfather didn't punish him, he had still lost 8 nascent soul stage cultivators. His competitiveness in the sect had decreased. He had to take revenge for such a big grudge. Mountain Sea Star region and that invincible nascent soul stage cultivator. This time I will let you live for another 10 years. When the 9 regions genius competition is over. Azure Star region Waterfront City. A late-stage nascent soul stage enforcer from the Heavenly Court's Azure Star region enforcer came to Daodu Manor. Jiang Xiai and Jiang Daodu were puzzled. They didn't seem to have done anything wrong, right? Then the enforcer smiled and said to the two of them, "Hello, Mr. Jiang Xiai. Our commander, Lord Earth, asked me to pass on a message to you. He said that by solving the threat of Flying Rainbow Grotto Heaven for you, he has repaid the favor he owed you last time. Please take care of yourself." After saying that, he left Daodu Manor. He came quickly and left quickly. Only Jiangxi and Jiang Daodu were left behind with faces full of astonishment. Earth? The commander of the Heavenly Court's Azure Star region enforcer? Jiang Daodu said in surprise. That's him. Last time when I applied for the Azure Mystic Sect's trial, it was Earth who led people to destroy the Azure Mystic Sect. Jiang Xiai was also very surprised. Owe him a favor? Just because he gave him the opportunity to destroy the Azure Mystic Sect? After Earth attack last time, he specifically looked into it and knew about the grudge between Patriarch Qing Xian and Earth. However, Jiang Xiai vaguely felt that it wasn't that simple. He shook his head. There was no point in thinking about things that he didn't understand. In short, the crisis of Mountain Sea Star region was temporarily resolved. Although the way it was resolved was very sudden and unexpected, and it caught everyone off guard. However, the outcome was good. Daodu, this is a lesson. You have to plan the development of Mountain Sea Star region properly. Jiang Xiai said. Yes. Previously we took too big a step and didn't have a solid foundation. We have to be steady in the future. Jiang Daodu nodded. We also have to do a good job of internal discipline and supervision. Jiang Xiai made suggestions, and Jiang Daodu made the main decisions. The two of them reflected seriously. However, they didn't expect a storm to arise. Chapter 303. Year 106 of the New Moon Era. August 6th, Planet Songlan, Linhai City, Daodu Manor. Jiang Xiai was lying on a recliner, basking in the sun as he welcomed the sea breeze. He looked like he had fallen asleep. In reality, he had been chanting in his heart, deducing Tao techniques. At the same time, he was comprehending the inherited memories left behind by his master, Taoist Gu. This was his cultivation method. After the crisis of the Mountain Sea Star trade was resolved, Jiang Xiai spent the most leisurely 3 years of his life. It could be said that he had never been so carefree before. There were no battles, no worries in life, and no messy matters to disturb him. In his spare time, he would either accompany Jiang Daodu to various planets or return to Earth to guide the young cultivators of the Great Xia Alliance. These days were very comfortable. The only thing that worried Jiang Xiai was that his cheap master had given him a deceptive commission. Within 100 years, he had to send the Purple Cloud Sword manual back to the Purple Cloud sect. He had become Taoist Ji's disciple in year 95 of the New Moon Era. It was now year 106 of the New Moon Era. 10 years had passed. Ever since he had seen the way Taoist Changbai of the Purple Cloud sect did things on Murong planet. Jiang Xi knew that without strength, there was no way he could do this job. Master must be a very simple person. Why didn't he think that if I went to the Purple Cloud sect like this, I would be eaten until not even my bones would be left? Jiang Xi was worried. Even if I cultivate to the Essence Soul stage, I can't guarantee that it will be foolproof. I have to reach the Tao integration stage first. But after spending countless experience points in the past few years, my Tao techniques have not improved at all. Are the Tao of heaven and earth and the sword domain so difficult to deduce? Although that was the case, Jiang Xi also knew that his cultivation speed was actually beyond the scope of heaven-defying. Many geniuses cultivated for thousands of years before they could cultivate their Tao domain to perfection and have the opportunity to comprehend the Tao of heaven and earth. In comparison, he had only cultivated for 10 years and achieved this. However, the problem was that he was not 100% sure that he could complete the fusion of Tao and Tao and reach the Tao integration stage in the remaining 90 years. This was because the difficulty of cultivation in the future would definitely increase. Back then, Jiang Xi had made a Tao oath in front of Taoist Gu. If he couldn't complete it, he wouldn't be able to make any further progress in the Tao. The importance of Tao was self-evident. After reaching the Aurous Core stage, the advancement of each major stage was closely related to the Tao. If one was restricted in the aspect of Tao, then one's future cultivation would basically be gone. Therefore, it was impossible for him to give up this commission. Just as he was thinking, Jiang Dudu's voice suddenly rang in his ears. "Brother, look, there's a painting in the sky." Jiang Dudu was also basking in the sun. Jiang Xi opened his eyes. Immediately, a landscape painting that covered the sky appeared in the sky. It was so huge that it could be seen from the entire blue planet. What kind of divine ability is this? Tao integration stage? Jiang Xi was shocked. The next moment he knew that he had guessed wrong. Xian Tian and Li Baibai sent a message from a distant galaxy. They also saw the same landscape painting. Big brother and sister Bai are so many light years away from the blue planet. I can't believe there are people there as well. This is not something a Tao integration stage cultivator can do. Jiang Xi was shocked. He thought of a similar existence to this divine ability. The heavenly eye of the Tao Alliance that covered the entire universe. Could it be that this landscape painting also covered the entire universe? Thinking of this, Jiang Xi hurriedly sent a message to Chu Zhe and Qiu Hong, who were guarding Earth, as well as Shen Wanxi, who was handling the Mountain Sea Star trade business on another planet. What puzzled Jiang Xi was that there was no such abnormal change in the sky of Earth. However, a landscape painting appeared in the sky of Shen Wanxi's planet. "Brother," Oldine said that this is the heavenly mountain river painting of the Tao Alliance. Jiang Dudu said at this moment. Then Yin Tiansheng, a thumb-sized remnant spirit of the Tao integration stage, appeared on Jiang Dudu's shoulder. "Young Master Jiang Xi, although I was born in the ghost realm, I have heard of the Tao Alliance's supreme treasure." Yin Tiansheng smiled sinisterly. "Tao Alliance's supreme treasure?" Jiang Dudu was interested. "That's right. This landscape painting is the heavenly mountain river painting. It's said that no matter where you are in the universe, as long as you have the heavenly mountain river painting's approval, you can enter it with your spiritual sense. However, I don't know what it's used for," Yin Tianxing explained. Jiang Xi nodded. He had already found it in Taoist Ji's inherited memories. The heavenly eye and the heavenly mountain river painting. These two supreme treasures complemented each other and could cover the entire universe. The heavenly mountain river painting. Could it be that the Tao Alliance's 9 Zones Genius Tournament is about to begin? Jiang Xi's eyes lit up. He had also found information related to the 9 Zones Genius Tournament after searching through his inherited memories. At this moment, ripples appeared on the heavenly mountain river painting hanging in the sky. Lines of ancient words reflected a golden light and appeared in the sky covered by the heavenly mountain river painting. Tao Alliance's 9 Zones Genius Tournament. Purple Heaven Sect Qualifications 1. Human Cultivators 2. Lifespan less than 300 years 3. Comprehension of at least one true intent of Tao and cultivation not exceeding the nascent soul stage. Method of participation, Please register at the Tao Alliance building on each planet. Venue Heavenly Mountain River Painting Process. 1. Preliminaries will be held in the various star zones of the 9 zones. The top 3,600 from each star zone will enter the finals. 2. The winners of the preliminaries will enter the finals to determine the top 3,600 Tao Alliance geniuses. Rewards: the top 3,600 Tao Alliance geniuses in the finals will directly become 9th Heaven disciples of the Purple Heaven sect and receive a minimum of 100 million low-grade spirit crystals as a reward and the right to enter the ancient Tao origin world. Please consult the Tao Alliance building on each planet for more details. These golden words illuminated the entire universe. Every planet belonging to the Tao Alliance could see the details of the 9 Zones Genius Tournament except for Earth. Jiangxi and Zhangdaodu raised their heads to look at all of this. Their faces were filled with shock. At the same time, Blue Planet, Songyun Sect. In name, the entire Blue Planet was under the control of the Songyun Sect. However, that was not the case. The Blue Planet covered more than 80,000 star zones. Every star zone had tens of thousands of planets with life. In such a vast territory, the Songyun sect only had a little over 1,000 star zones with life. For example, although the Soaring Rainbow Star Zone was also part of the Blue Planet, it was actually under the control of the Soaring Rainbow sect. Inside the Songyun Grotto Heaven, the Songyun sect had selected 1 million young cultivators from over 1,000 star zones with life. They were gathered together to receive Sect Master Wu Kuei's teachings. In the end, Sect Master Wu Kuei sat up high and his loud voice spread throughout the Grotto Heaven. In the upcoming 9 Realms Geniuses Tournament, if any of you are able to qualify for the selection in the Blue Sky Star Sector, you will be rewarded with 100 vital planets. Immediately, the young cultivators were in an uproar. 100 planets with life. Chapter 304. These millions of young cultivators had cultivations ranging from the Spirit Vessel stage to the Nascent Soul stage. They all had Taoist rhymes circulating around their bodies. They were all outstanding figures in the cultivation world of their respective planets. They were very clear. 100 planets with life. It was enough for a cultivator, a family, or a force to soar. The nascent soul genius of the Songyun sect, Fengxi, was among these millions of young cultivators. He was also very excited. 100 planets with life was only secondary in his eyes. Fengxi was concerned about something else. This 9 Regions Genius Tournament is hosted by the Purple Heaven sect. If you can make it to the finals, you will have a chance to become a core disciple of the Purple Heaven sect. In the entire universe, apart from the Taoist, Buddhist, and Sword sects, the Purple Heaven sect was the strongest. In fact, the current leader of the Heavenly Court was from the Purple Heaven sect. Once you passed the 9 Regions Genius Tournament and became a disciple of the Purple Heaven sect, even if you were still at the Nascent Soul stage, your status would be comparable to the Nascent Soul stage. Although the chances of making it to the finals were very small, so small that in these tens of thousands of years, no disciple of the Songyun sect had ever made it to the top 3,600. But there was still a sliver of a chance. On an extremely cold planet with life, frost covered the entire world. A young man with snow-white hair had a frost domain wreaking havoc around him. In an instant, he had slaughtered over 100 nascent soul stage snow devils. At this moment, the Skyspan Mountain River diagram that lit up in the sky attracted his attention. 9 Regions Genius Tournament. Haha, the chance to become famous in the universe has come. The man laughed wantonly as frost swept across, forming a polar storm. This was a world of flames. A woman in red clothes had flames circling beneath her feet as she swept past countless fire spirits. She devoured the Taoist rhymes contained within those fire spirits. Instantly, her aura grew stronger. Feng the 9 Regions Genius Tournament has begun. Hurry up and register. An old woman's voice came from the depths of this world. 9 Regions Genius Tournament. Thank you, Granny. The voice remained in place, but the woman and those fire spirits had disappeared without a trace. The melodious sound of a flute could be heard. A young shepherd riding an old water buffalo passed by a willow tree by the lake. The melodious sound of the flute seemed to penetrate deep into one's soul, yet it also seemed to be able to nurture all living things. The willow tree that fluttered in the wind seemed to have a spirit as it waved at the shepherd boy. As for the shepherd boy, He had a bright smile on his face as he waved at the willow tree to show his respect. Soon, the sky-piercing mountain-river diagram announcing the 9 Zones Genius Tournament appeared in the sky of the planet. 9 Regions Genius Battle? I can see a bigger world? The shepherd boy's eyes lit up. The willow tree's branches and leaves were also dancing happily. You also support me going? Whoosh, the wind blew. Good. Let's go. The willows rustled gently, and the shepherd boy bid farewell. Each of the 9 realms of the Tao Alliance had 400 star zones, for a total of 3,600 star zones. Every star region had tens of thousands of habitable galaxies. Each life-bearing galaxy contained tens of thousands of life-bearing planets. If one were to make a rough calculation, the number of planets with life was at least 10 trillion. It was unknown how many geniuses these planets had nurtured. Even if a planet produced a young genius who comprehended the true intent of the Tao, there would still be tens of billions of participants. And this was only the minimum amount. A grand banquet of human geniuses in the universe. Countless young geniuses in the 9 regions of the Tao Alliance were in an uproar. With this opportunity, this is my chance to rise in the universe. It's said that the current master of the heavenly court is from the Purple Firmament sect. If I can become a disciple of the Purple Firmament sect, I won't have to worry about my future cultivation. One chance to enter the ancient Tao origin world. Once I enter, I have a chance of reaching the Tao integration realm. My enemy is extremely powerful and controls 3 life-bearing galaxies. If I can make a name for myself in the 9 Regions Genius Tournament, I can take revenge. At this moment, Xian Tian and Li Baibai had already rushed back from a distant star system. They had formed the Starry Sky Wanderer team with Hu Yan, and had been training in the Pale Blue Star region for the past few years. After countless battles, these two, who were originally ranked first and second on Earth, had now reached the late-stage Golden Core realm. Their actual combat strength had long since reached the nascent Soul realm. Pale Blue Star, Waterfront City, Daodu Manor. Big brother, sister Baibai, are you going to participate in the 9 Regions Genius Tournament? Jiang Xi asked with a smile. The two of them were battle maniacs. They must have rushed back for this matter. Of course, I entered the Tao through martial arts. If I don't fight, how can I improve? This is a tournament where billions of geniuses will gather. The battles will definitely be exciting. Xian Tian's eyes lit up. In the past few years, the opponents we've encountered in the Pale Blue Star region have become less and less challenging. We have to fight stronger battles to continue improving our strength. Li Baibai said with a smile. Jiang Xi chuckled. Don't blame me for discouraging you. There are more than 80,000 life-bearing galaxies in the Pale Blue Star region. Each life-bearing galaxy has at least 10,000 life-bearing planets. Based on the minimum standard of 1 genius per planet, there are at least 800 million participants. When the time comes, you'd better not be killed as soon as you enter. Kid, don't look down on us. I've already learned that in order to ensure fairness, the participants of the 9 Regions Genius Tournament will have their own consciousness. After their soul consciousness enters the sky-reaching mountain and river painting, the spiritual body formed will have the cultivation of the perfected nascent soul stage, Xian Tian said with widened eyes. That's right. With our understanding of Tao, we might have a chance to qualify for the finals if we're at the same level. Li Baibai was also full of confidence. Jiang Xi smiled but didn't say anything. He didn't continue to discourage them. He had already learned about the 9 Regions Genius Tournament in detail through Taoist Ji's inherited memories. This tournament that covered the human race in the universe was not so much a genius tournament as a selection of disciples for the immortal Tao sects among the 3 sects and 6 sects. Except for the Taoist sect, the Buddhist sect and the Sword sect, the other 6 sects took turns to host the 9 Regions Genius Tournament every 10,000 years. They selected the most outstanding young geniuses from the human race in the universe and trained them. After all, a race could maintain its strength. Not only did it rely on the top powerhouses, but it also relied on the cultivation of geniuses. Only an endless stream of powerhouses could ensure that the human race stood at the top of the universe. What was the key to becoming a powerhouse? Comprehension. The ability to comprehend Tao. Just look at the announcement of the tournament's qualifications. Other than the age and cultivation restrictions, the most important thing was that they had at least comprehended one true meaning of Tao. The true meaning of Tao was the first step on the path of Tao. The human race occupied a vast territory in the universe and nurtured many Dao geniuses. Xian Tian and Li Baibai might be top geniuses on Earth, but compared to the universe they were nothing. Jiang Xi wasn't trying to discourage them. Chapter 305. Don't just talk about us. Are you going? Xian Tian asked Jiang Xi. It was obvious that he was not affected at all. You're all going, so how can I not go? Jiang Xi said with a smile. The purpose of his participation in the competition was not to show off. There were three main reasons. First, it had been too peaceful recently. Just as Xian Tian and Li Baibai had said, those who entered the Dao through martial arts would never forget the fighting spirit that flowed through their bodies. Second, Daoist Ge had given him a mission, so he had to complete it. If he could enter the top 3,600 in the finals, he would be able to join the Purple Heaven sect. Although he was not very confident, he still had to try. What if he succeeded? Once he entered the Purple Heaven sect, he could find a suitable opportunity to return the Purple Heaven sword manual. It was better than sitting here and worrying. Finally, he had his eyes on the final prize, which was a chance to enter the ancient Dao source world. In Daoist Ji's inherited memories, the ancient Dao source world was a piece of information that was heavily emphasized. The Dao source, the source of all Daos. It was said that one could see Dao techniques there with their naked eyes. The efficiency of comprehending Dao techniques was hundreds, thousands, or even tens of thousands of times faster than usual. I have the experience points panel, so cultivating Dao techniques is not a big problem. The key is that there might be a large amount of experience points there. This was what Jiang Xi was looking forward to the most. Experience points were the foundation for him to improve his strength. Last time on the Murong planet, he had comprehended the Dao of Fire left behind by the One Clan's ancestor, and obtained 100 million experience points. The ancient Dao source world had a large amount of Dao of heaven and earth that could be seen with the naked eye. How much experience points would there be? Just thinking about it made Jiang Xi excited. Others could comprehend Dao techniques, while he could earn experience points. If he had enough experience points, he could even deduce Dao techniques 10,000 times a day. Therefore, in summary, Jiang Xi had no reason not to participate. Apart from him, Xian Tian and Li Baibai Zhang Daoda did not like to fight, and she was currently focused on the mountain and sea star trade, so she did not participate. The One Clan siblings were also focused on the Dao of equipment refinement for similar reasons. In the end, only Jiang Xi and the other two arrived at the Dao Alliance building. The Dao Alliance building wasn't too crowded at the moment. This was because although there were more than 100,000 cultivators above the Golden Core stage on the entire Kanglan planet, there were only a few 100,000 of them. However, there were less than 10,000 people who were qualified to participate. Participant: Jiang Xi, Kanglan Star Region, Kanglan Galaxy, Kanglan Planet. Participant: Xian Tian. Participant: Li Baibai. In order to prevent Earth from being exposed, the three of them used their identities on the Blue Planet to register for the competition. After that, the staff of the Dao Alliance building began to examine their qualifications. Age, cultivation, Dao arts. There were 3 items in total. Jiang Xi was 32 years old. He was at the peak of the nascent soul realm and had 2 great Dao domains. Xian Tian was 92 years old. He was at the later stage of the Golden Core realm. His saber true meaning was perfected. Li Baibai was 81 years old. He was at the late Golden Core stage and his true meaning of swiftness had reached perfection. With Jiang Xi and the other two's qualifications, of course, there were no accidents and they easily signed up. When the 9 Zones Genius battle begins, your spiritual senses will be able to enter the Skirich Mountain River diagram through your communication pearls. The staff of the Dao Alliance building returned the 3 communication pearls to Jiang Xi and the other 2. Judging from their qualifications, he knew that these 3 were all geniuses. His attitude was much better, and his face was full of smiles. The 3 of them put away their communication pearls and scanned them with their spiritual senses. They discovered that there seemed to be some inexplicable changes in their communication pearls. Registering here wasn't just for the examination of their qualifications. The staff also had to make special adjustments to the communication pearls of the participants. According to Jiang Xi's understanding, this should be to adjust their network permissions in the Skirich Mountain River. The universe was the public network, and the Skirich Mountain River diagram was the internal network. After that, they left the Tao Alliance building and waited for the competition to begin. The Skirich Mountain River diagram hung in the sky of the planet, covering the sky and the sun. The rows of golden ancient words reflected the billions of planets in the universe. Below the ancient words there was a row of jumping numbers. Participants in the Kanglan Star region: 7,925, 8,201, 8,846 billion. The numbers were still increasing at an astonishing speed. The first stage of the 9 Zones Genius Tournament was the preliminary selection by star region. Therefore, this number only showed the number of participants in the Kanglan Star region. Finally, when the registration period ended, the number was fixed at 3,519 billion. The Kanglan Star region alone has so many participants. The 9 zones of the Tao Alliance have a total of 3,600 star regions. At a rough estimate, there are at least 1 trillion participants. Jiang Xi was speechless. There were a total of 1 trillion participants in the 9 zones. What a terrifying number. Xian Tian and Li Baibai looked at each other in dismay. Now that they thought about it, it seemed that they had been too confident as participants. The 3 of them quickly received the detailed process of the competition through their communication pearls. In the first stage, the participants of each star region will be divided into 360 regions. After their spiritual senses, enter the Skirich Mountain River diagram. The participants will fight in spirit form. If their spirit form dies, they will only lose a wisp of their spiritual sense. It won't affect their main body. Every participant will have 2 origin points. Killing a participant will give you half of the opponent's points. The participant who ranks first in each region will get a spot in the finals. In this way, there will be 360 spots in the finals. Then the second to 100th place in each region, a total of 35,640 participants, will compete in one-on-one round-robin matches to compete for the remaining 3,240 spots in the finals. From this, the top 3,600 participants of the entire star region will be selected. The second stage, soon the 3 of them finished reading the detailed introduction. Xian Tian took a deep breath and said, "If it's divided into regions, we might still have a chance. We just need to make it into the top 100. Li Baibai was full of fighting spirit. In short, there will be a lot of battles. There is indeed a chance. There are 3,519 billion participants in the Kanglan Star region. If they are evenly divided into 360 regions, there will be nearly 10 billion participants in each region. Apart from the first place in each region, the top 100 participants will all have a chance to get a spot in the finals." Jiang Xi nodded. Even so, the 3 of them felt a lot of pressure. These participants were all geniuses who had at least comprehended the true meaning of Tao. There were definitely many who had Tao domains. There were even some abnormal ones who might have comprehended the Tao of heaven and earth. Moreover, everyone would be in spirit form at the peak of the nascent soul stage. In the case of the same cultivation, it would depend on Tao, combat experience, and willpower to see who was better. Just now, they had also received their respective regions through their communication beads. Jiang Xi was in the 101st region of the Kanglan Star region, Xian Tian was in the 6th region, and Li Baibai was in the 360th region. "Brother, sister Baibai, shall we compete to see who has the highest ranking this time?" Jiang Xi said with a smile. "I don't want to compete with a freak like you." Xian Tian whistled and turned his gaze to the sea in the distance. "Haha." Li Baibai sneered and turned to leave. "Hey! Oh!" Chapter 306. Before the official start of the 9 Regions Genius Competition, countless contestants were working hard to cultivate and strive to improve their strength. Time passed, and the once-in-10,000 years human genius banquet finally began under everyone's anticipation. In the cultivation room with the highest level of defense in Daodu manner, Jiang Xi, Xian Tian, and Li Baibai sat cross-legged, holding the communication bead in their hands. Their spiritual consciousness felt an inexplicable attraction through the communication mark. In an instant, their spiritual consciousness was drawn into the Tongtian Mountain River painting. With a turn of his spiritual sense, Riverward found himself in the starry sky. The galaxy was flowing, and under his feet was a huge meteorite. Jiang Xi knew that all of this was illusory and not real. Is this a spiritual body? It feels exactly like a real body. Jiang Xi operated his spiritual power and spiritual consciousness in amazement. He was a perfected nascent soul realm cultivator, so he could perfectly control this spiritual body. Contestant, please choose your battle equipment. A loud voice sounded in this starry sky. Jiang Xi's heart moved, and a supreme-grade spiritual weapon long sword appeared in his hand. It looked exactly the same as the killer shadow sword. It's really amazing. But why do I feel like this scene is familiar? Spirit Cloud Illusion. Jiang Xi recalled the scene when he challenged Lingwan Road on Earth. Wasn't the trial illusion of every step of Lingwan Road like this? Choose your equipment first, then fight. It felt as if the Tongtian Mountain River painting was the official server, and Lingwan Road was the private server. Not knowing if his guess was correct, Jiang Xi could only temporarily suppress the shock in his heart because the official competition was about to begin. Contestant, please get ready. In 3 seconds, you will be teleported to the 101st Division of the Blue Star region. 3 seconds passed. Whoosh! Heaven and earth changed. Jiang Xi appeared in the 101st Division of the Blue Star region. It was a planet with life similar to Earth. Everything was very real. Land, sea, mountains, lakes, and cities. Jiang Xi was now in a city with many tall buildings. He didn't let his guard down just because he had mastered 2 great Dao domains instead. He quickly restrained his aura and hit his body. Kill! Almost instantly, the sound of fierce fighting could be heard nearby. Ding ding ding! Clang clang clang! A huge burst of energy erupted, and the aura surged. Someone died as soon as he entered. Nearly 10 billion contestants had gathered on a single planet. Every one of them was in the state of spirit body, and had the cultivation of the perfected nascent soul realm. Once a battle broke out, there was no stopping it. More and more people joined the battle. After all, only a few people were truly cautious. Everyone was wild and unrestrained, killing anyone they saw. This was especially true for those cultivators who were usually only at the spirit nurturing realm and golden core realm. Now that they suddenly had the spiritual body of a great circle nascent soul realm cultivator, they immediately became arrogant. Soon tens of thousands of people joined the chaotic battle. Boom! Boom! In their spirit bodies, the nascent soul peak stage contestants unleashed a series of terrifying attacks. The smallest was a few hundred feet, while the largest was tens of thousands of feet. They wreaked havoc in this space. Those who were weak were eliminated at the first moment. Only those who were truly powerful had the right to survive. But now, the only things that differentiated the strong from the weak were Dao techniques, battle experience, and willpower. Meanwhile, on the vital planets of the 3,600 star regions, the Skyspan Mountain River map hanging in the sky changed. The landscape painting that covered the sky changed and turned into 360 huge pictures. It displayed the real-time situation of the 360 competitions in each star region. Of course, Earth couldn't see this on the vital planets covered by the Skyspan Mountain River map. Those who didn't participate in the competition were all paying attention to the real-time situation of the various competitions. Oh, what a pity! Ergu was killed as soon as he entered. He was the hope of our village. Nailin Yin of the Cloud Mist planet is indeed a genius. She killed thousands of contestants in a chaotic battle, and entered the 88th competition in 11th place. We'll soon know who the real genius is. Songyun Sect. Sect Master Wu Kuei and a group of nascent soul stage elders were also watching the situation of the various competitions in the Kanglin Star region. Everyone take a closer look. If there are any suitable seedlings, we can try to recruit them, Wu Kuei said with a smile. Sect Master is right. In the 9 regions genius competition, not only are the 3 gates and 6 sects selecting disciples, but we can also recruit some talented young people. The first elder nodded with a smile. They didn't dare to think about the geniuses who entered the top 3,600 in the finals. However, they could still fight for the young geniuses who performed well in the first stage. Sect Master Fengxi is doing well. He has already entered the top 1,000. Judging by his cautious style, it won't be a big problem for him to enter the top 10. An elder praised. Everyone's eyes immediately locked onto one of the huge images. Fengxi, the nascent soul stage genius of the Songyun sect, was in a one-on-many battle. He was very cautious, but his efficiency was very high. A few years ago, he comprehended a second rare Dao technique on the Morong planet in the Minglan star region. In addition, he has already comprehended 80% of the Fog Demon realm. His strength has improved a lot. Wu Kuei nodded with gratification. Our Zongyun sect hasn't had a disciple enter the top 3,600 in the finals for 50,000 years. Feng Si might have a chance. The first elder smiled. It'll be difficult. With his current strength, he has the confidence to enter the top 10,000 in the finals. His chances of entering the top 3,600 are too slim. Wu Kuei smiled helplessly. The 9 regions of the Dao Alliance had 3,600 star regions. The Kanglan star region wasn't outstanding among so many star regions, could only be considered below average. Due to the strong interstellar trade atmosphere in the Kanglan star region, the cultivation of cultivators had fallen behind. The Zongyun sect was the top immortal Dao sect in the Kanglan star region. In the past 50,000 years, its best result in the 9 regions genius competition was entering the top 5,000 in the finals. Those who stood out in the first stage could only be called geniuses in their respective star regions. Only those who entered the top 3,600 in the second stage of the finals could be considered geniuses in the 9 regions of the Dao Alliance. It's not just the Zongyun sect. In the past 50,000 years, no one in the entire Kanglan star region has entered the top 3,600 in the finals. The best was only 3,601. Wu Kuei was helpless. After all, the Zongyun sect was the top immortal Dao sect in charge of a star region. This was a very shameful record. If anyone could enter the top 3,600 in the finals, he would also be proud. Sect Master, First Elder, look at that black-clothed youth in the 6th region. Look at his saber. An elder suddenly exclaimed. Everyone's attention was immediately attracted. That's saber intent. A special Dao art. Wu Kuei and the first elder's eyes lit up. The person they were looking at was none other than Xian Tian in the 6th region. At this moment, Xian Tian was killing a contestant with an ordinary Dao domain with a single slash of his saber. A special Dao art at the perfect level of saber intent was comparable to 40% of an ordinary Dao domain. Chapter 307. Note it down and check his background. Wu Kuei said immediately. The elders were excited. As primordial soul stage cultivators, they understood the Dao of heaven and earth. Naturally, they knew what special Dao techniques meant. Dao techniques were divided into 3 levels: special, rare, and normal. Cultivators who could understand rare Dao techniques were definitely geniuses. On the other hand, the number of cultivators that had comprehended special Dao arts was extremely few. This was especially so for Dao intent, which was completely used in battle. It was extremely rare. Although this black-robed youth's Dao technique was still in the Dao intent stage, as long as he was nurtured well, he would have the chance to become a powerful cultivator. Everyone believed that if the 9 zones genius competition was held 200 years later, this person would definitely have the chance to enter the top 3,600. Dao Du Manor. Jiang Dudu, Wen Yoxin, Wen Feng, and Shen Wanxi were all anxiously watching the 3 huge screens in the sky. Other than the 101st region where Jiang Xi was, there were also the 6th and 360th regions. On the left side of each screen was the real-time ranking of the top 100,000. What is brother doing? I can't see his ranking. It's beyond the top 100,000. Jiang Dudu was very confused. She then looked at the rankings of the other 2 regions. Brother Xian Tian is already in the top 10,000 of the 6th region. Sister Bai Bai is also in the top 50,000 of her region. Jiang Dudu was even more confused. Riverward's strength was clearly stronger. It was normal for him to be in the top 1,000. Could it be that Zhang Ge has met his match? Shen Wanxi asked hesitantly. Impossible. In such a competition, only martial granduncle can kill others. Wen Yoxin was very confident in this young martial granduncle. I'm afraid only those with primordial soul stage battle prowess are qualified to be martial granduncle's match, Wen Feng said. Jiang Dudu thought for a while and smiled. I think he's hiding. Unfortunately, the competition had just started. There were too many participants in each region. They could not find Jiang Xi at all. In fact, it was very difficult to find him because Jiang Xi was hiding in the dark. Look, it's moving. Jiang Ji's ranking has directly soared to 99,527. Shen Wanxi suddenly exclaimed. So fast. In the blink of an eye, it's already 50,000th place, 30,000th place, 10,000th place. When Yoxin's eyes widened, how many people did he kill? As expected of martial granduncle. When Feng praised, Jiang Dudu smiled without saying a word. As expected of my brother. At this time, in the 101st Division of the Kanglan Star region, Jiang Xi hid in a building and watched the chaotic battle not far away. There was a situation that made him very surprised, because he found that this planet was very hard. That's not the right word to describe it. It should be very sturdy. The building was sturdy and so was the ground. Tens of thousands of perfected nascent soul cultivators were engaged in a chaotic battle that could destroy the world. Surprisingly, it didn't cause any damage to the buildings or the ground of the city. If such a large-scale battle had taken place on Earth, wouldn't Earth have already become a small broken ball? There's still someone hiding here. Are you trying to take advantage of me? Go to hell. At this time, someone discovered Jiang Xi, who was hiding in the dark, and directly slashed at him with a blade. Powerful nascent soul spirit energy fluctuations instantly spread out, mixed with a mysterious Taoist rhyme. This was a cultivator who had comprehended the true meaning of Tao. Heh! Jiang Xi smiled. His figure flashed, and the departing fire sword stabbed out. This is the power of a domain. It's over, it's over. That person was in despair. Poof! His entire body was turned into ashes by the departing fire domain power on the sword. Run, this is a freak who has comprehended the Tao domain. Many people saw this scene. The participants who were gathered here in the chaotic battle immediately ran for their lives. Once the spirit body died, they would be eliminated. However, Jiang Xi didn't immediately chase after them. He was stunned there, because in his mind the prompt of the experience panel sounded. You killed a late nascent soul cultivator fake. Experience points plus 380. The word fake represented that these participants in the spirit body state were very different from the real late nascent soul cultivators. The experience points were only 1/10. There's such a good thing? Jiang Xi was pleasantly surprised. It was fine if there were less, but there were more. There were close to 10 billion participants. His blazing gaze looked at the contestants who were running away. Experience, baby. Whoosh! Jiang Xi directly used the Gale domain, and his figure whistled as he chased after them. Within 1,000 kilometers, as long as their Tao techniques were weaker than his, they would be restrained by the Gale domain, and their speed would be greatly reduced. This is too terrifying. This is a genius who has comprehended 2 Tao domains, and he has already perfected them. A nascent soul cultivator shouted in shock. This kind of person is a freak who can rush into the top 10,000 in the finals. Why is he in the same area as him? I can't accept this. The 9 Zones Genius Battle is my chance to become famous. Over 10,000 participants were in despair. However, in Jiang Xi's eyes, these were all experience points. Kill, kill, kill. His figure flashed, and the sword light was sharp, taking away one participant after another. You killed a late nascent soul cultivator fake. Experience points plus 380. Some people struggled, but it was futile. Soon the ground was full of corpses and blood flowed like a river. It looked very real. Jiang Xi was surprised again. Then he looked at the experience points remaining. Experience points. 866. 68,800,000 experience points. How much will it increase by the end of the first stage of the competition? Jiang Xi's eyes were filled with vigor. He was looking forward to it. Time of the competition 30 days. Time was limited. Moreover, there were close to 10 billion participants in this area. They would not be waiting for him to kill. There would be a fierce battle between each other. In the end, how many people he could kill would depend on his killing speed. There was another prerequisite, and that was to not encounter a participant stronger than him and be eliminated by others in advance. The probability of that was relatively low. Let's go crazy and kill. Jiang Xi grinned. His killing intent was overflowing. His blood was boiling. Swish, swish, swish. Under the Gale domain, his speed reached the extreme. He constantly swept across this planet, killing everyone he saw. On the first day, the number of participants in the 101 area decreased by 4 billion. Jiang Xi eliminated more than 3 million participants, and the average number of people he killed per minute was more than 2,000. For every person he killed, he would obtain half of the opponent's points. With more than 4 million points, he was ranked 5th in the area. Therefore, there was someone more abnormal than him. On the second day, the number of participants in the 101 area decreased by 3 billion. Jiang Xi eliminated 2 million participants, and the average number of people he killed per minute was 1,388. His points had reached more than 10 million, and he was ranked 4th in the area. The killing speed decreased because after the chaotic battle on the first day, a large number of participants with low cultivation level were eliminated. On the third day, the number of participants in the 101 area decreased by 2 billion. Jiang Xi eliminated 1 million participants, and the average number of people he killed per minute was 694. His points had reached more than 20 million, and he was ranked 3rd in the area. Chapter 308. The current ranking situation. Fengxi, 6th District, ranked 11th. Xiantian, 6th District, ranked 169th. Li Baibai, 360th District, ranked 1032nd. Jiangxi, 101st District, ranked 3rd. With such a result, Songyun Sect's sect master, Wuxia, and the group of primordial soul elders were already grinning from ear to ear. Everyone had long expected Fengxi to be able to rush to such a position. What surprised them the most was the appearance of Jiang Xi's trio. In the beginning, when they discovered the youth with saber intent, they were already very surprised. Because Xiantian's identity information showed that he came from the Kanglin planet. Then Jiang Xi's sudden outburst attracted their attention. He had 2 rare Dao domains, and they were both at the perfected state. Such a genius made Wu Kuei and the group of primordial soul elders boil with excitement. Because with Jiang Xi's Dao technique strength, he had a high chance of breaking into the top 3,600 in the finals. Perhaps even the top 1,000. The remaining Li Baibai, although a little less surprising, was at least close to the top 1,000. Most importantly, these 2 people were the same as Xiantian from the Kanglin planet. This was the Songyun Sect's headquarters. The cultivators of the Kanglin planet shining in the 9 regions genius tournament would bring glory to the Songyun Sect. Not counting Fengxi, who was already prepared, Jiang Xi's trio was a complete surprise. Could it be that the Songyun Sect, which had been humiliated for 50,000 years, was now going to rise? Everyone was looking forward to it. In the blink of an eye, 20 days had passed. There were less than 100,000 people left in the 101st District. The speed of elimination was getting slower and slower. This was because after so many days and countless battles, the contestants who were still alive would not be too weak. It was not that easy to kill them. It was very difficult for people of similar strength to kill the other party. Only by completely overwhelming the other party could one easily kill the other party. Of course, Jiang Xi's strength was not as simple as crushing a perfected nascent soul. His 2 rare Dao domains were both at the perfected state. Coupled with his special grade sword intent, his strength was definitely at the top of this district. Therefore, he was ranked 3rd. There were 2 more people in front of him. Jiang Xi was also puzzled. In terms of killing speed, who could compare to him? With a thought, a light panel appeared in front of him, displaying his current ranking. Participant, Jiang Xi, Cerulean Star Region, Zone 101, points 39 billion ranking. 3 number of participants, 98235. With the ranking points removed, there was a total of 9 billion. The reason why he had so many points was because of the rule that he could get half of the opponent's points by killing them. As time passed, the surviving contestants gained more points as time went on. Killing a single person was equivalent to killing 100,000 people. How many people had he eliminated? Although I have a lot of points, only 56 million people were eliminated by me. Remove only 56 million people. Jiang Xi himself found it hard to believe this number. He received 380 EXP for 1 kill. If converted to experience points, it would be almost 9 billion. Therefore, the decision to participate in this competition was the right one. He looked at his remaining experience points. Experience: 374. 325 million more than 7 billion. Jiang Xi's depressed mood was swept away, and his ambition was soaring. There are less than 100,000 people left, but each of them has a lot of points. I have to pay attention later. I can't be killed by others and then see if I can fight for first place in the district. With a thought, another light panel appeared in front of him. Participant: Mu Ning, Cerulean Star Region, Zone 101 points, 5 billion. Oh. Ranking: 1 number of participants: 98205. The ranking information was public, and everyone could find it in the Tongtian River map. For 5 billion points, it's this monster. My Gale domain and Distant Fire domain combined are not as fast as his killing speed. Jiang Xi even suspected that this person was a cheat. Unfortunately, in these 20 days, he had not met this person called Mu Ning. After all, everyone was busy killing people. My points are less than 600 million away from his. There's still a chance. Jiang Xi's eyes were burning. The first place in the district could directly obtain a spot in the finals and did not need to participate in the round robin. Of course, with his strength, even if he participated in the round robin, he was confident to get a spot in the finals. But to be safe, it was definitely better to get it early. If something unexpected happened in the round robin, it would not be good. Thinking like this suddenly, Jiang Xi's soul sense found movement. There was a battle more than 600 kilometers away. His figure swayed and flew in that direction. There are 23 people fighting, and I don't know how many are hiding in the dark. Now that everyone was in the perfect nascent soul realm, once their aura was restrained. Unless there was a special detection method or a soul sense beyond the nascent soul realm, it was possible to find the hidden people. So now there were less than 100,000 people left, and it was getting harder and harder to kill. The probability of a large-scale melee was also greatly reduced. It was no longer possible to kill thousands or tens of thousands of people at the same time like in the beginning. Many people were hiding and waiting to reap the benefits. They wanted to wait for others to fight to the end before coming out to take advantage of the situation. At this stage, Jiang Xi did not act arrogantly. Before he got close to the place where the battle was happening, he restrained his aura. In the sky above a great swamp surrounded by clouds, 23 people attacked without being divided into factions. Whoever got close would be killed. Boom! 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 All kinds of energy exploded. Clouds surged, lightning flashed, and thunder rumbled. If not for the fact that this world was very sturdy, the mountains would have collapsed and the earth would have cracked under such power. 19 of them have ordinary Dao domains, and their comprehension level is more than 60%. 4 of them have rare Dao domains, but none of them have more than 30%. Jiang Xi felt the domain power coming from those people, and instantly made a judgment. It was obvious that the 4 people who had comprehended rare Dao domains were stronger. However, these people's strength was similar, and they did not form a crushing momentum. It was impossible to end the battle quickly. Oh! Jiang Xi's gaze focused. At this moment, he saw a barefoot shepherd boy wearing a straw hat and a short shirt appear in another direction of the great swamp. The shepherd boy held a bamboo flute in his hand and stepped on the void, breaking through the clouds. Mu Ning. In the sky above the great swamp, those who were fighting were immediately terrified and wanted to escape. However, they realized that they could not move. The power of a perfect domain bound them tightly. Everyone, why don't you listen to me play a song? Mu Ning had an innocent smile on his face. The bamboo flute played. The melodious and light flute sound seemed to tell a beautiful story as it floated above the great swamp. An invisible domain power accompanied the flute sound as it floated out, suffusing with vitality. Those who were bound only took a breath before their eyes turned slack and they finally disappeared. They were dead. Vitality could save people, but it could also kill. Special Dao technique. Life domain. Chapter 309. Fuck. Jiang Xi was shocked. This freak, no wonder he was killing people faster than him. A song accompanied by a Dao domain that spread out for 1,000 kilometers could kill everyone within this range. Suddenly, The sound of the flute became passionate and spread out from the sky above the swamp. Plop plop. Hundreds of figures fell from various hidden places and died. Humph! Jiang Xi snorted coldly. The wind was like a blade circling around him. Woo! The sharp whistling sound drowned out the sound of the flute. It also blocked the strange power of the life domain. Not bad. In the past half a month, only you can block my dream-seeking song. Mu Ning stepped on the void barefoot and came in front of Jiang Xi. They were about 100 kilometers apart. Maybe I don't like this song. Jiang Xi's expression was serious. Oh, then another song? I have a new song, Full Moon Song. Mu Ning's eyes lit up. His innocent face had a sincere expression, making people have a good impression of him. However, Jiang Xi was not fooled. The innocent shepherd boy in front of him had killed more people than him. Forget it, I don't like to listen to songs. Let's compete in sword techniques. Haha. Then let's wait until the end to decide the victor. Mu Ning waved his hand and moved lightly, floating in another direction. Jiang Xi was afraid of Mu Ning. Mu Ning was naturally afraid of Jiang Xi too. Neither of them had the confidence to kill the other. Now that it was not the final moment, neither of them wanted to fight to the death. There were less than 100,000 people left, and the points of the top few were very close. Anyone had a chance to get first place. The two of them retreated. Their first meeting was outside the Skyspan Mountain River diagram in the Pale Blue Star region, causing a huge uproar. This is the first face-to-face confrontation between Mu Ning and Jiang Xi from District 101. This Mu Ning is too crazy. Listening to his song can kill people. Riverward only used one Dao domain just now. There's still one more he hasn't used. Although the two of them didn't really make a move, I can tell that they are both afraid of each other. Other than these two, the other people in Zone 101 are also very abnormal. Who will be the final champion? Division 101 was the most eye-catching division in the Kanglan Star Zone. The few people at the top of the rankings were obviously a level higher than the contestants in the other regions. Jiang Xi, Mu Ning, Mo Tianba, Dual Gun Tycoon, Cheng Yu and Wang Jingyuan. All of them had perfected Dao domains. Mu Ning, in particular, had a special Daoist art that was extremely powerful. Due to the rule of obtaining half of the opponent's points for killing someone, anyone could get first place. Therefore, everyone was looking forward to these few people fighting to determine who was the better one. What a strange attack. I've really met my match this time. Jiang Dudu's eyes widened. Martial Granduncle will definitely win. The one siblings were filled with confidence. Jianggu will definitely get first place. Shen Wanxi supported him even more brainlessly. Another week passed. The division battles had already been going on for 27 days. There were only 3 days left. There were only 10,000 people left in Zone 101. Jiang Xi is here. Run! In the sky above a mountain forest, more than 10 contestants who were fighting immediately scattered. Even so, they all had looks of despair on their faces. This was because they knew that if they encountered Jiang Xi or Mu Ning, there was no chance of escaping at all. Whoosh! A gust of wind whistled and swept through the mountain forest. Endless wind blades danced wildly. In a few breaths, this group of contestants was turned into minced meat. Before the 9 regions genius battle, his Gale domain and Li Fire domain had been perfected. However, he had not developed the practical application of these two Daoist arts to the extreme. After all, there was always a gap between practice and theory. After so many days and hundreds of thousands of battles, Jiang Xi had become more adept at using Daoist arts. His combat experience had finally improved greatly. After killing these people, Jiang Xi flew away and checked his points at the same time. My points have exceeded 5 billion. Killing these more than 10 people, he obtained a large number of points again. Since the competition started until now, these remaining 10,000 over people, each person had at least several 100,000 points. The current point ranking situation in Zone 101. Number 1 Mu Ning 6 billion. Number 2 Mo Tianba 9 billion. Number 3 Jiang Xi 5 billion. Number 4 Dual Gun Tycoon 4 billion. Number 5 Cheng Yu 4 billion. Number 6 Wang Jingyuan 6 billion. Number 7 Berudo. The first two are both freaks. There are still 3 days and the division battles will be over. Have to kill 2 points players before I can catch up. Jiang Xi shook his head helplessly. His figure swayed and disappeared from the sky above this mountain forest. On Zone 101, this planet, he searched non-stop. Unfortunately, the strength of the points players were not weak. Wanting to find them was very difficult. Quickly run, it's Jiang Xi. Along the way, the contestants who saw Jiang Xi took to their heels and fled. But not a single one could escape. Very soon Jiang Xi arrived above a city. Whoosh, a figure directly blocked his path. It was a thin and cold young man. On the street below, there were hundreds of corpses lying. The hidden contestants in this area were all killed by this person. Jiang Xi. The cold young man looked at Jiang Xi. The blood on the long staff was still dripping drop by drop. Wang Jingyuan. Jiang Xi's eyes flashed. The two were respectively 3rd and 6th in the division. One had 5 billion points, the other had 3.6 billion points. You want to fight with me now? Jiang Xi asked. That's right. If I kill you, I can rush to first place. Wang Jingyuan's expression was determined with a trace of madness. Then let's fight. Jiang Xi nodded lightly. Boom! The powerful aura of the two suddenly erupted and spread out. All the hidden contestants in the surrounding thousands of kilometers were shocked and wanted to withdraw from the battle range of the two. However, Jiang Xi and Wang Jingyuan did not intend to let them go. These people who wanted to take advantage of the situation were slaughtered by the two of them in just a moment. Then the two stood in the air, separated by thousands of miles, and their aura reached the peak. Withered tree revives spring. Wang Jingyuan took the lead. A rare Dao technique, the complete withered tree domain, was immediately displayed through the long staff in his hand. The power of his domain bred vitality and death. It was extremely strange. An extremely condensed staff shadow swept out. Jiang Xi directly faced it. Gale shield. Clang! Clang! This move was blocked by him without any hesitation. Whoosh! Another sword suddenly pierced out. The power of the Gale domain. Gale sword shadows condensed on the sword body, shaking the space. It was extremely fast. What a fast sword! Wang Jingyuan's expression changed. He responded with the fastest speed. Staff forest. The sky full of staff shadows under his withered tree domain seemed to have turned into a primitive forest, covering thousands of kilometers. Puff! Puff! The towering giant tree collapsed. Jiang Xi's gale sword shadows were constantly being consumed under this kind of blocking. Before it reached Wang Jingyuan, it had completely dissipated. Chapter 310. As expected, no one in the top 10 is weak. Jiang Xi had expected this. Lee Fire. He changed his move and the Gale domain disappeared. The dark red Lee Fire domain spread to a radius of 1,000 kilometers. The primeval forest formed by the withered wood domain was burned to ashes in an instant. Fire was the bane of wood. Annihilation wood armor. Wang Jingyuan's expression was cold. He was not affected. The withered wood shrunk and condensed on the staff. A layer of withered wood armor appeared on his body. Swoosh! He rushed directly toward Jiang Xi. The staff shadow was like a dragon as it smashed down. Boom! 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 Haha! That's more like it. Jiang Xi laughed. He used the same method, and the Gale domain condensed into a black armor. The Gale shield had an extremely strong defensive power. Now that it had turned into armor, its defense was 10 times stronger. Take my 10,000 strikes. Wang Jingyuan shouted coldly. The staff shadows covered the sky and emitted a vast divine power. Jiang Xi had no room to dodge. The sky suddenly darkened. Disperse! Jiang Xi's expression was calm. The Lee Fire domain condensed on the killer shadow sword. The dark red sword shadow emitted a terrifying aura. It was as if it could burn everything. The sword turned into 1,000,000 feet long. Blazing flames surged and burned in this space. Rumble! The staff shadows that blotted out the sky dissipated. Impossible! This is my strongest move. It has already touched the early stage of the primordial soul realm. Wang Jingyuan found it hard to accept. With his strength, he could definitely be ranked first in the other divisions. But now, his strongest move was easily defeated by Jiang Xi. He lost. Swoosh! The moment the staff shadows dissipated, A 3-foot-long sword shadow cut through the air, penetrated the wooden armor, and pierced his forehead. Wang Jingyuan was dead. He was also the first participant in the top 10 of Division 101 to be eliminated. The moment Wang Jingyuan died, half of his points were contributed to Jiang Xi. Jiang Xi's points soared from 5 billion to 8 billion. He was ranked first. At the same time, this battle attracted the attention of those outside of the sky-reaching mountain and river diagram. It became the biggest hot topic. Jiang Xi's name quickly spread to every major galaxy in the Blue Star region. This is the young genius of our blue planet. With such strength, Jiang Xi will definitely make it to the top 3,600 in the finals. Not only that, I think Jiang Xi is aiming for the top 1,000. The blue planet, which had been weak for years, urgently needed a genius to appear. Therefore, during this period of time, the Zongyun sect had already taken out Jiang Xi and wantonly publicized it. Although they could not find any of Jiang Xi's experiences from 10 years ago, the experts of the Zongyun sect still had doubts about Jiang Xi's true origins. However, he couldn't care less about that now. It was fine as long as his identity information indicated that he was from Blue Planet. Even if it wasn't, it was. For 50,000 years, no one in the Kanglan Star region had made it to the top 3,600 in the finals. Not to mention the Blue Planet. Daodu Manor. Xian Tian and Li Baibai had been eliminated not long ago. The two of them were also paying attention to Jiang Xi's situation. At first, they were very worried when they saw Wang Jingyuan stop Jiang Xi. Because of Wang Jingyuan's strength, he could definitely rank first in the other regions. In the end, when they saw Jiang Xi easily deal with Wang Jingyuan, both of them were shocked. This kid is simply not human. He's only 32 years old. Xian Tian shook his head and sighed. It seems that we really can't catch up with him. Li Baibai smiled bitterly. Of course, both of them were very gratified. Although the outside world had been saying that Jiang Xi was the glory of the Blue Planet, Jiang Xi actually represented the people of Earth. Jiang Daodu chuckled at the side. She was naturally the happiest when Jiang Xi achieved results. However, Jiang Xi's first place only lasted for a minute before it was surpassed by the shepherd boy, Mu Ning. Through the changes in the points ranking, Jiang Xi knew that Mu Ning had eliminated Cheng Yu, who was in 5th place, and obtained 2 billion points. His total points directly reached 8 billion. And he only had 8 billion. The gap had widened. But it wasn't that he didn't have a chance. Jiang Xi didn't hide his aura at all as he searched for the other top 10 contestants in Division 101. Therefore, Jiang Xi and Mu Ning seemed to have agreed on it. They had a tacit understanding. Jiang Xi killed the 7th place and became first again. Mu Ning killed the 8th place and took back the first place again. The two of them took turns to sit on the first throne. Then the 5th to 10th place were all killed by the two of them. In the end, Jiang Xi's points reached 3 billion. Mu Ning, on the other hand, reached 8 billion. It was still difficult to separate them. They were very close. At this point, only the 1st to 4th place remained among the top 10 contestants. As for those outside the top 10, there weren't many left. Jiang Xi and Mu Ning were hunting down the top 10 contestants. Mo Tianba, who was in 3rd place, and Double Gun Tycoon, who was in 4th place, killed almost all the remaining contestants. Even if they were lucky enough to survive with their points, it wouldn't affect the ranking. Now, only the top 4 could affect the final ranking. Mu Ning 8 billion. Jiang Xi 3 billion. Mo Tianba 2 billion. Double Gun Tycoon 3 billion. Now anyone could get first place. For example, Double Gun Tycoon, who was in 4th place. If he could kill Mu Ning, then his points would reach 2 billion. On the 30th day of the division battle, the battle for the first place in Division 101 also came to an end. All eyes were on it. Many of the 360 divisions in the Kanglan Star region had already decided the first place. None of them was as intense as Division 101. It was already the last day, and the first place was still uncertain: Kanglan Star Jiang Xi, Forgetful River Star Mu Ning, Moto Star Mo Tianba, Nawa Star Double Gun Tycoon. All 4 of them had their own supporters. Although they couldn't hear it in the towering mountain river diagram, they still couldn't help but shout. The Interstellar Spinach Group even opened bets. Who would get first place? Towering Mountain River Diagram, Kanglan Star Region, Division 101. Jiang Xi stood on the top of a 10,000-meter high mountain and searched within a 1,000-kilometer radius with his sole consciousness. It's the last day. It's impossible to get first place by killing those ordinary contestants. Mu Ning, Mo Tianba, and Double Gun Tycoon. Only by killing all of them can I guarantee the first place. He was thinking about hunting, and the other three must have the same idea. After searching within a 1,000-kilometer radius of this 10,000-meter high mountain, Jiang Xi didn't find any trace of these three people. He went to the next place. His figure kept flashing on this planet. Found it. In the mountains ahead, Jiang Xi found two powerful auras, but Mu Ning wasn't there. Then it could only be Mo Tianba and Double Gun Tycoon. Are they deliberately revealing their auras? Or are they fighting a decisive battle? Jiang Xi's heart skipped a beat, and he suddenly flew over in a flash. But before he arrived, someone beat him to it and appeared in the sky above the mountains. Mu Ning. This young shepherd boy looked like he was taking a stroll. He was very relaxed. Gentlemen, listen to my song. Mu Ning chuckled. Chapter 311. Swoosh. Two figures darted out from the mountains and blocked Mu Ning's path. Mo Tianba was tall and sturdy like a bear. His mace seemed to have the strength of 10,000 kilograms. Dual Spear Protector was like his name. He held two spears, one of water and one of fire. Two perfected Dao domains circled around his spears. Both of them stared at Mu Ning with a grim expression. Their original plan was to lure Jiang Xi over and kill Jiang Xi. Then the two of them would fight. That way they would have a chance to fight for first place and avoid fighting Mu Ning. They did not expect to lure Mu Ning over. They would rather fight Jiang Xi than Mu Ning. Mu Ning's methods were too strange. It was impossible to guard against. Jiang Xi, stop hiding. Mu Ning was about to play his bamboo flute when he suddenly chuckled. Mo Tianba and Dual Spear Protector's expressions changed. They did not notice Jiang Xi. Whoosh! Not far away, there was a sudden fluctuation in the empty sky. Jiang Xi appeared. He used the wind to hide his figure. Nice move. Jiang Xi praised. He did not mind being discovered. My ears have been good since I was young. Mu Ning smiled innocently. His eyes were bright and clean. One each. Jiang Xi said again. He was naturally referring to Mo Tianba and Dual Spear Protector. No, I'll fight the three of you. Mu Ning smiled. Heh. Jiang Xi sneered. Their conversation infuriated Mo Tianba and Dual Spear Protector. They did not feel good being looked down upon. How dare you? Take two of my spears. They attacked. Mo Tianba's heavy mace suddenly enlarged. It was like a mountain as it came crashing down. Dual Spear Protector's dual domains of water and fire were also unleashed. The two completely opposite domain powers collided at high speed, producing a shocking force. Boom! 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 Their targets were Jiang Xi and Mu Ning. Jiang Xi laughed. His sword flashed. Accompanied by a gust of wind, it whistled toward Mo Tianba's mace. Clang! 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 The immense power flowed along the sword and into Jiang Xi's body. What a powerful force! Jiang Xi was shocked. In the blink of an eye, he turned into a stream of light and dodged to the side. At the same time, the Gale Sword shadow stabbed out. Dong! The aftermath of their fight seemed to compress the space around them, and a muffled sound echoed through the sky. At the same time, Mu Ning's bamboo flute began to play a melodious tune that drew people in. It seemed to be able to penetrate deep into one's soul. The invisible power of the domain of life spread out in this space. The dual gun protector that was attacking him paused for a moment, and the dual domain of water and fire immediately dispersed. Dual Gun Tycoon's eyes were unfocused, and his expression was ferocious. He was still struggling. Suddenly, the pitch of the flute rose a few notches. Dual Gun Tycoon's body fell from the sky. His aura disappeared without a trace. He was dead. Fuck this freak. Jiang Xi had already used the power of the Gale domain to protect himself. The whistling wind covered the sound of the flute, but the pervasive power of the domain of life was trying to penetrate his body and mind. Gale Parting Fire. The power of the two domains quickly circulated in his body and blocked it. This is my chance. At this moment, Jiang Xi saw that Emotianba's eyes were also a little unfocused and confused. His speed reached its peak, and he suddenly stabbed out with his sword. Slash! The killer shadow sword pierced through Emotianba's forehead. At this point, the third and fourth place in Division 101 were all dead. Only Jiang Xi and Mu Ning were left. Their latest points were Jiang Xi 12. 4 billion. Mu Ning 12. 5 billion. There was only a difference of 100 million. But at this moment, this 100 million was no longer important. The two of them would definitely fight to determine the winner, and the winner would be first. Outside the Skyspan Mountain River diagram, in the major galaxies of the Pale Blue Star region, trillions of people were watching this battle, and everyone's emotions were already at the peak. Such a battle for first place was too exciting and exciting. Pale Blue Star's Jiang Xi, Forgetful River Planet's Mu Ning. There were many supporters on both sides cheering and shouting. Songyun Sect. Sect Master Wu Kuei and the Essence Soul Elders were also completely attracted by this battle. Sect Master Jiang Xi has a high chance of winning first place in Division 101 this time. Dual rare Dao domains aren't necessarily worse than a special domain of life, Grand Elder Mu Chuan said with a smile. Although Jiang Xi and Mu Ning were both participants of the Pale Blue Star region, Jiang Xi was from the Pale Blue Star region. Of course, they supported Jiang Xi. It still depends on how they perform in the battle. With the strength of these two, either one of them could win. Wu Kuei shook his head and smiled. He had to be rational. Elder Mu, when this battle is over, go visit Jiang Xi and recruit Xian Tian and Li Baibai into our Songyun sect, said Wu Kuei. Haha, that's right. I didn't expect the three of them to know each other. Mu Chuan laughed loudly. They had already found out that Jiang Xi, Xian Tian, and Li Baibai lived in the same manner on the Pale Blue Star region. The only doubt was that they couldn't find out what Jiang Xi and the other two had experienced 10 years ago. It was as if they had appeared in the Pale Blue Star region out of thin air. Wu Kuei and the others suspected that the three of them came from some mysterious family or faction in the Dao Alliance. Otherwise, how could they be so talented? In Division 101, Jiang Xi and Mu Ning stood opposite each other. I've never liked fighting and killing with others since I was young, so it doesn't matter if I get first place or not. Mu Ning chuckled. Jiang Xi, you don't like fighting and killing? Don't you know how many people you've killed? Then let me stab you. I want first place, said Jiang Xi. How can there be such a good thing? Although I don't like fighting, I've never been one to admit defeat since I was young. I've met so many opponents, but you were the only one who blocked my dream-seeking song last time, so this time, I'm going to show you my full moon song. Mu Ning was excited and excited. Come on then. Jiang Xi raised his long sword and condensed his aura. Swoosh. The sword shadow pierced through space and directly attacked Mu Ning. Strike first and gain the upper hand. However, Mu Ning turned his body and stepped on the void barefoot, easily dodging Jiang Xi's sword. It was as if the world was closer to him, making it easier for him to control the environment around him. A soft and ethereal sound of a flute sounded. It was the sound of the full moon song. Almost instantly, it penetrated deep into Jiang Xi's soul. It was like a lullaby. Jiang Xi's head was dizzy and he wanted to fall asleep. Oh no! Jiang Xi shuddered and suddenly woke up. Whoosh! The wind whistled and he disappeared on the spot. Boom! Almost at the same time, a huge foot landed on the spot where he had been standing. A huge thunderous aura spread out in all directions, making one's heart tremble. If Jiang Xi was a step slower just now, he would have been trampled into a meat patty. No, I have to fight in close combat. If I'm restrained by him like this, I won't have any chance at all. Jiang Xi's expression was serious. The wind turned into armor and protected his body. Then he crossed the void and approached at an extremely fast speed. Wind helps fire Li fire. A dark red Li fire sword shadow suddenly shot out under the power of the Gale domain. Jiang Xi was confident that even an early-stage Essence Soul Realm cultivator would not dare to take this sword head-on. Chapter 312. However, Mu Ning was still standing in place, and the sound of his flute was still fluttering. However, a strange life domain power, accompanied by the sound of the flute, suddenly transformed into a giant palm and shattered the distant fire sword. Jiang Xi's expression did not change. He took advantage of this opportunity to approach Mu Ning. He instantly swung his sword. This time with the true intent of the sword as the core, gale and fire spiraled. The wind aided the fire, and the fire aided the wind. The power of the two domains seemed to have merged into one, and the power instantly increased. The surging sword made Mu Ning unable to maintain his composure any longer, and his expression changed slightly. The sound of the plenilune immediately accelerated its tempo, and the life domain power condensed into countless huge feet. It kicked towards Jiang Xi's sword. Boom! Boom! The explosive impact swept through the entire planet of Zone 101. As for Jiang Xi and Mu Ning, under this kind of impact they remained unmoved. After everything calmed down, Mu Ning's expression was unprecedentedly solemn. If your plenilune song is only this powerful, then you will definitely lose today. Jiang Xi was expressionless as he struck out with his sword again. You can actually fuse two rare domains, and its power is comparable to a special level Dao domain. Looks like the plenilune song won't work. Listen to my fourth song, Mu Yun Song. Mu Ning took a deep breath. There's a fourth song. Jiang Xi's expression changed. He knew that Mu Ning's Dao technique was a special Dao domain. According to his judgment, the plenilune song had perfectly unleashed the full power of this special Dao domain. If there was a fourth song, it meant that this person's Dao technique realm had already surpassed the domain stage, the Dao of heaven and earth. Mu Ning said, "My Mu Yun song was comprehended when I was herding cows. Unfortunately, I've only completed 30% of it. If you can block it, I'll admit defeat." As he spoke, he began to play with his flute. Jiang Xi's heart skipped a beat. It was indeed the Dao of heaven and earth. Don't even think about it. Jiang Xi shouted coldly. If he let this guy play, he would have no chance. Immediately, sword shadows rose, turning into a sword curtain that blotted out the sky. Whoosh. Whoosh. It was as if 10,000 swords were fired at the same time. There was a hum. However, there was an invisible heaven and earth binding coming from all directions. Riverward discovered that he seemed to have fallen into a quagmire. The speed boost provided by the Gale domain also lost its effect. This was the difference between their cultivation realms. It was indeed the Dao of heaven and earth. Jiang Xi felt bitter in his heart. As the sound of the flute rose, the clouds rolled and dispersed. The curtain of swords in the sky vanished into nothingness. In an instant, Jiang Xi was immersed in the sound of the flute. He could not resist at all. Even with the protection of two domains, he couldn't stop Mu Ning's Dao of heaven and earth. They were no longer on the same level. Jiang Xi's consciousness disappeared into the mountain and river diagram in a daze. Finally, the only person left in the sky above the mountains was the shepherd boy, who was wearing a straw hat, a short shirt and bare feet. Mu Ning, on the other hand, was stunned for a long time before he let out a long sigh with a complicated expression. This fourth song was supposed to be reserved for the finals, but you forced me to use it. I, Mu Ning, admit that you are the strongest opponent I've ever met. There were countless races in the universe, and the Dao Alliance's 9 star zones occupied by the human race were the most fertile territories in the vast universe. The Dao Alliance's heavenly court, which ruled over the 9 zones, was located in the middle of the 9 zones. It occupied an enormous star zone that was no smaller than the 9 zones. At this moment, in a hall surrounded by stars in the Dao Alliance's heavenly court, 2 middle-aged men sat across from each other in the starry sky. One of them had disheveled hair and wore only a green robe. The other had a handsome face and was covered in armor. In the center of the hall, the mountain and river diagram's rainbow light flowed. The situation of the first stage of the 3,600 star zones was displayed in front of the 2 of them. Pale blue star zone, Zone 101, is quite interesting. The green-robed man waved his hand. The mountain and river diagram in front of the 2 of them spun, and displayed the scene of Jiang Xi and Mu Ning's battle. Oh, this kid has already mastered 30% of the special Dao of life. He has the strength to enter the top 10 in the finals. The armored man was also interested. Moreover, he has mastered it very well. He can completely integrate the Dao of life into his music. With such attainments, once he perfects the Dao of life in the future, he can directly perform Dao integration, said the green-robed man. In comparison, his opponent, the other kid, has terrible luck. He can think of using Sword True Intent as the core to fuse 2 rare Dao domains. With such strength, he could have taken first place in the zone. The armored man laughed. He can be considered a good seedling. If he's lucky, he might be able to enter the top 500 in the finals. The green-robed man shook his head. Clearly, they were more interested in Muning. Soaring Rainbow Planet. Yuan Zhangshua was alone in a luxurious palace. He was in a deranged state. Good death. Good death. There was a hint of helplessness in his tone. The Flying Rainbow Star trade was an important source of wealth for the Flying Rainbow sect, and he had managed it for so long. He had been in charge for so long, so he was naturally not a simple-minded and impulsive person. Yuan Zhangshua knew the current situation very well. Even if the 9 Zones Genius tournament ended, he would not be able to deal with Zhang Xi. In fact, he had to avoid him. Furthermore, he was worried about something else. If the competitors for the position of sect master in the sect knew that he had a conflict with Zhang Xi, at that time, he would be in a passive position. Damn it! Yuan Zhangshua gritted his teeth and growled. Pale Blue Star region on a remote Tier 2 planet. There was also a Skirich mountain river diagram in the sky. Patriarch Qing Xian was like an ordinary person. He hid in the secular world and paid attention to this Grand Genius tournament. Although the first stage of the round-robin tournament had yet to begin, he was already certain Zhang Xi was the genius ranked second among the participants of the Pale Blue Star region in terms of talent in Dao techniques. The first place was naturally the Shepherd Boy. Zhang Xi, a dual rare Dao technique at the domain stage and a special Dao technique at the true meaning stage. Patriarch Qing Xian's eyes flickered. He had already obtained the blood chi spirit fruit that he had been guarding for 2,000 years. His strength could improve further. However, at this moment, seeing the Dao technique talent Zhang Xi displayed, he could not think of a way to deal with Zhang Xi. Pale Blue Star region, Linhai City, Daodu Manor. Zhang Daodu, Xian Tian, Li Baibai, and the others were guarding outside the training room. Soon Zhang Xi walked out with a frown. He did not seem to be in a good state. Brother! Zhang Daodu shouted first, very worried. Next to her, the 1 siblings and Shen Wanxi also looked worried. Zhang Xi, you did very well. Xian Tian also comforted him. Yes, compared to us, you are ranked second in your division. You are much stronger than us. I am only ranked 855th. Big brother is a little better. He is only ranked 103rd in his division. Li Baibai laughed. They had been through hundreds of battles and were much older than Zhang Xi. Their psychological endurance was strong. In the face of such failure, they naturally laughed it off. However, Zhang Xi was only 32 years old. He was too young. Although they were sworn siblings, in reality, Riverward was still a junior. The two of them were worried that Zhang Xi would be dealt a blow. This was because Zhang Xi had not encountered such an opponent for a long time. There was no room for him to fight back. He was completely crushed and miserable. Chapter 313. Hearing these comforting voices, Zhang Xi felt warm in his heart. He smiled and said, "Don't worry, it's just second place. It's not like I don't have a chance." He frowned just now because he was reflecting on the battle just now. Only then did they feel relieved. Yes, there was still the round-robin competition. With the strength Zhang Xi had shown, there was no problem for him to participate in the round-robin competition. At this moment, someone came to Daodu Manor and asked to visit. After confirming the identity, Zhang Xi did not dare to neglect and quickly invited him in. Because the person who came was Congyun Sect's great elder Mu Chuan, a late-stage essence soul cultivator. A late-stage essence soul cultivator, only one step away from Dao integration. In the entire Kanglan Star region, he was a powerhouse who stood at the peak. Zhang Daodu, Wen Yoxin, and the others saw the situation and knew that they had something to talk about, so they quickly left for other places in the manor. "Greetings, great elder." Zhang Xi, Xian Tian, and Li Baibai were left behind and bowed respectfully. "No need to be so polite. You are all the leaders of our Kanglan Star, the hope of the future. Especially Zhang Xi. You did well this time and spread the name of our Kanglan Star's cultivation world. Our Congyun sect is also happy for this. So the sect master sent me to meet you, genius. Mu Chuan nodded and smiled. His gaze lingered on Jiang Xi for a while. The great elder of the Zhongyun sect was now full of emotions. This was because the strength that Riverward had displayed in the final battle of District 101 had exceeded their expectations. Although Jiang Xi was still in the nascent soul stage, he could imagine that soon after the finals of the 9 regions genius battle ended, Jiang Xi's status would be almost the same as his, a late-stage essence soul cultivator. Thank you for your compliment, great elder. Jiang Xi smiled. He had already guessed the other party's intention in coming. Xian Tian and Li Baibai, on the other hand, were secretly laughing. They were all fake Blue Planet natives. Our sect master said that he hopes that you will continue to work hard and strive to break into the top 500 in the finals. At that time, our Zhongyun sect will also have a big gift to offer. Mu Chuan said again. Jiang Xi thanks sect master. Jiang Xi hurriedly expressed his gratitude. Only the top 500? He muttered in his heart, but his expression did not change. Was he that pessimistic about him? At that moment, Mu Chuan glanced at Xian Tian and Li Baibai before teasing Jiang Xi. Of course, I didn't come here uninvited this time because I'm not looking for you. Jiang Xi thought to himself. Sure enough, Xian Tian and Li Baibai also looked calm. Obviously, they had also guessed it. Mu Chuan laughed. Xian Tian, are you willing to become a disciple of my Zhongyun sect? You walk the path of the Saber Dao, and it just so happens that my master is an expert of the Saber Dao. Jiang Xi and Li Baibai looked at Xian Tian happily. Although Mu Chuan did not say it explicitly, his master was very likely to be an expert of the path integration stage. However, it was still up to Xian Tian to make the decision. I'm willing to join. Xian Tian was very decisive. He walked the path of the Saber Dao without a guide. If there was a knowledgeable person to guide him carefully, he would definitely improve faster. Mu Chuan laughed, very satisfied with Xian Tian's answer. As for you, Li Baibai, Mu Chuan's gaze turned, and then he said, although the Dao technique you've comprehended is called the true meaning of fast, I've never seen it before. Is it convenient for you to explain? The true meaning of fast is a name I came up with myself because my Dao technique only strives for speed, Li Baibai said. Speed? Mu Chuan was puzzled. Not only speed, everything has to be fast, Li Baibai said simply. However, it made Mu Chuan even more puzzled. He did not look down on Li Baibai just because his ranking was the lowest among Jiang Xi's trio. Therefore, although he was puzzled, Mu Chuan still said seriously, are you willing to join the Zhongyun sect? Although we don't have any powerhouses who specialize in this Dao technique, I can provide you with the Dao technique. However, I can guarantee that the sect will provide you with the best cultivation conditions and help you cultivate to a higher level. Li Baibai hesitated. Xian Tian joined the Zhongyun sect because they had a powerhouse who cultivated the Saber Dao. However, her joining the Zhongyun sect did not have much meaning cultivation resources. They had treasures dug up from various arcane realms on Earth and did not lack resources. Just as Li Baibai was hesitating, someone else came to visit. Jiang Xi let Xian Tian and Li Baibai accompany Mu Chuan while he went to greet them himself. When he saw who it was, Jiang Xi smiled. There were 2 people in total. He did not recognize the kind-looking old man in the white robe. The other person was a middle-aged man with a long axe on his back. He had seen him before and had even interacted with him before. Greetings, Lord Earth. Jiang Xi bowed and said. The middle-aged man was Earth, the commander of the Dao Alliance's Heavenly Court's Planet Kanglin Law Enforcement Department. Earth was the one who helped the Mountain Sea Star trade when it was suppressed by the Flying Rainbow Star trade. He said it was to repay the favor of destroying the Azure Mystic sect, but Earth had helped a lot after all. Haha, Jiang Xi, congratulations. You're famous in all the major galaxies in the Kanglin Star Zone. Earth laughed heartily. You must be joking, Lord. I'm only second. Jiang Xi chuckled. Don't be modest. Everyone has seen your performance. If you were placed in any other competition zone, you would be number 1. It's a pity that you met Mu Ning. With his strength, he has a chance to enter the top 10. Earth shook his head and felt sorry for Jiang Xi. Only a chance to enter the top 10? Jiang Xi was surprised. He thought that with Mu Ning's strength, it was certain that he would enter the top 10 in the finals. That's right. Based on the experience of the previous 9 Zones Genius Tournament, it's common for geniuses with perfected Tao of Heaven and Earth to appear in the finals. Earth side. Jiang Xi was speechless. Perfected Tao of Heaven and Earth. He was leading by a large stage. Don't be surprised. Take Mu Ning for example. He comprehended the Tao of Heaven and Earth before reaching the nascent soul stage. He can easily become a Tao reunion cultivator in the future. What's more, he comprehended a special Tao technique. Once he succeeds in the Tao reunion, he will be at the pinnacle of the Tao reunion, Earth exclaimed. After saying that, he saw that Jiang Xi was a little stunned. Only then did he realize that these words seemed to be a big blow to Jiang Xi. Therefore he smiled and said, "You're not bad yourself. With your strength, if you perform well, you can enter the top 500. If you're lucky, you might even enter the top 300. Only 3 to 500? Jiang Xi's eyes flashed. He was a little unconvinced. Muchuan had said the same thing just now. However, he didn't express his dissatisfaction. This time he had obtained a huge amount of experience points. He had to pile up his Tao techniques first. Then Earth shook his head and smiled. I've digressed. Actually, I have another purpose for coming here this time. With that, he introduced the white-robed elder who had been smiling but hadn't said anything to Jiang Xi. Jiang Xi, this is Lord Emoqian. Lord Emoqian. Someone exclaimed. It was Muchuan, accompanied by Xian Tian and Li Baibai, who had walked out of the manor. Muchuan looked very surprised, as if he had discovered something extraordinary. Chapter 314. Haha. Looks like someone is one step ahead of us. Earth laughed. The elder in gray robes called Emoqian shook his head. Timing is better than being early. Luck has nothing to do with time. Greetings, Lord Emoqian. Muchuan took a few steps forward and bowed solemnly. Jiang Xi, Xian Tian, and Li Baibai were all stunned by this scene. Muchuan was a late-stage primordial soul cultivator. Could Lord Emoqian be in the Tao integration stage? Let me introduce you. Jiang Xi, this is Lord Emoqian from the Tao Alliance Heavenly Court's Time Hall. Earth smiled at Jiang Xi. The Tao Alliance Heavenly Court's Time Hall? Xian Tian and Li Baibai were confused. However, Jiang Xi was shocked. He had learned about the Tao Alliance Heavenly Court from his master, Taoist Gu. There were a total of 36 halls in the Tao Alliance Heavenly Court, and the Time Hall was one of them. Those who could enter were at least in the Tao integration stage. You're wrong. I'm not in the Tao integration stage. Like Earth and Muchuan, I'm in the late-stage primordial soul stage. Emoqian smiled faintly, as though he could see through Jiang Xi's thoughts. I wouldn't dare to compare myself to Lord Emoqian. Although you're in the late-stage primordial soul stage, your strength is no different from a Tao integration stage cultivator. Muchuan hurriedly said respectfully. Earth also bowed to show his respect. Alright, let's get down to business. Emoqian shook his head and said to Li Baibai, You're Li Baibai. Li Baibai was still in shock. Hearing this, she nodded blankly. Are you willing to be my disciple? Emoqian asked. Li Baibai was stunned. Since when did she become so popular? Lord Emoqian is Li Baibai's Tao technique? Muchuan was shocked. However, it's related to time. Emoqian nodded. No wonder the sect leader and I couldn't tell the origin of her Tao technique. Muchuan was enlightened. He persuaded Li Baibai. If that's the case, Li Baibai, it's most suitable for you to be Lord Emoqian's disciple. Let me remind you. Once you enter the flowing time hall, you won't be allowed to leave unless you've reached a certain level of cultivation. The Tao technique that you are cultivating is very difficult. You might not be able to cultivate it successfully even after 100 years or 1,000 years. Emoqian said. Li Baibai didn't hesitate this time. She was also a decisive person. She immediately agreed. Good. Emoqian nodded in satisfaction. Jiang Xi and Xian Tian looked at each other. They were both pleasantly surprised for Li Baibai. Now the future of the three of them was settled. Needless to say, Jiang Xi would become a core disciple of the Purple Heaven sect once he entered the top 3,600 in the finals. In the entire human race of the universe other than Taoism, Buddhism and Sword Gate, the Purple Heaven sect was the strongest. Now that Xiantian had become a disciple of the Zhongyun sect, he had the opportunity to become a disciple of a Dao integration powerhouse. Although the Zhongyun sect was not comparable to the Purple Heaven sect, it was still a top immortal Dao sect that ruled over a star region. Since Li Baibai could become a disciple of an expert from the Dao Alliance's Time Moon Hall, his future would definitely not be too bad. They seemed to have stepped onto a new starting point and started a new journey. Although the three of them didn't say it out loud, they all had the same belief in their hearts. While everyone was pursuing a higher cultivation level, they also wanted to protect Earth. In the past, Xiantian and Li Baibai had protected Earth from the monsters. Now it was Zhang Xi who was protecting Earth. Xiantian and Li Baibai, on the other hand, had fallen. Given their personalities, they naturally didn't want to put such a heavy burden on Zhang Xi alone. They wanted to prove that they weren't too bad either. Finally, it was time to leave. Mo Qian was going to return to the Dao Alliance's heavenly court. Therefore, Li Baibai had to leave with him. No one knew how long it would take for her to return. Although there was an interstellar transportation array, Mo Qian had said that she couldn't leave the Time Moon Hall unless she succeeded in her cultivation. Li Baibai's departure saddened Zhang Daodu the most. This was because Zhang Daodu had worshipped Li Baibai since she was young and saw her as a role model. You should cultivate well too. Don't cause trouble for your brother. Li Baibai intimately pinched Zhang Daodu's face. She chatted with Zhang Daodu for a while before turning her gaze to Zhang Xi and Xiantian. Big brother, third brother, don't slack off. Don't let me overtake you if you're not careful. Alright, let's see who's more powerful in 100 years. Xiantian was also very heroic. Zhang Xi smiled but didn't say anything. He had never been afraid of anyone when it came to cultivation speed. Li Baibai valiantly waved her hand and left. Xiantian also followed Mu Chuan to the Zhongyun sect. Daodu Manor once again quieted down. Big brother and sister Baibai are already working so hard. I can't slack off either. Zhang Xi collected his thoughts and returned to the cultivation room with a determined gaze. He first thought about the battle with Mu Ning. Using the sword intent as a medium to facilitate the fusion of wind and fire, the power of that sword surpassed the simple superposition of the previous domains. Unfortunately, it's still too far away from Mu Ning's path of life. If I had the Gale path or the path of fire, or the sword domain, I definitely wouldn't have lost so miserably. The path of sword was also a special Dao technique. It was not inferior to the path of life and it was better at fighting. Even if he was only at the domain stage, it would still greatly increase his strength. With this thought, Zhang Xi opened the experience panel. Cultivation. Nascent Soul Late Stage 1. 06 million/1. 06 million. Dao Technique. Gale Domain 5 million/5 million. Fire Domain 5 million/5 million. Sword Intent. 1 million/1 million. Amplitude. 100 Deduction. 10,000 experience points per time. Cultivation Method. Purple Cloud Sword Scripture. Peacock Visualization Experience Points. 37,468,000,003. 7 billion points. Finally, I don't have to be stingy when it comes to deductions. Zhang Xi laughed. Deducing once would cost 10,000 EXP. 100 million experience points could only be used for 10,000 deductions. Gale and Fire Domain were rare Dao techniques, and the Path of Sword was even more special. Whether it was to deduce the Path of Gale, Fire Domain, or the Sword Domain, the difficulty was very high. For the past 10 years, he had not succeeded in deductions. In addition to the high difficulty of deductions, the number of deductions was too low. The round-robin competition will be attended by the 2nd to the 100th place in the 360 divisions, a total of 35,640 people. One-on-one, each person will have to fight 35,639 battles, 36 battles a day, which will last for nearly 3 years. In this way, I still have a chance to improve my Dao techniques. Let's begin the deduction. No matter what, I have to make a breakthrough. If he made a breakthrough in any of these 3 Dao techniques, his strength would improve even more. Mu Chuan and Eartha's words were still echoing in his mind. Could he only make it to the top 500 in the finals? Zhang Xi did not believe it. Use the Purple Cloud Sword Scripture and Sword Intent to deduce once. Use the Gale Domain to deduce once. Use the Fire Domain to deduce once. He repeated the words in his heart without stopping for a moment. His experience points were rapidly depleting. The feeling of success in his heart was getting stronger and stronger. Chapter 3:15. While Jiang Xi was deducing Taoist methods, the first round-robin of the 9 Regions Genius competition was also going on. A total of 35,640 people in the Kanglan Star region were competing for the remaining 3,240 spots in the finals. Compared with competing for the first place in the division, the chances of qualifying for the finals in the round-robin were much higher. For example, the strong contestants who were eliminated in Division 101, Emo Tianba, Wang Jingyuan, Double Gun Tycoon, and the others. In such a competition, if there were no accidents, they would all qualify for the finals in the end. Jiang Xi would certainly have no problems. After finishing the 36 matches a day, he spent all his time on cultivation. Such a competition was very easy for him. The competition that others needed to do their best was just a place for him to hone his Taoist methods and moves. In addition, Zhang Daoda knew that Jiang Xi was looking for a breakthrough, so she didn't disturb him. Instead, she took the initiative to take on more responsibilities. For example, she occasionally went to Earth to help Jiang Xi patrol. Then she worked hard to develop the Mountain Sea Star trade, and tried to become a powerful helper for Jiang Xi. Just like that, time flew. 3 years passed in a flash. On May 5th, the 110th year of the New Moon era, the round-robin competition in the Kanglan Star region finally came to the last day. There was only one picture left on the map of the Skyspan Mountain hanging in the sky. It was the last match. In the picture, Jiang Xi, the star contestant of the Kanglan Star region, was fighting with another contestant. Now 3 years had passed. Jiang Xi's name had already spread to all the planets of the major life galaxies in the Kanglan Star region. He was even more famous than the young shepherd boy, Mu Ning. Especially on the Kanglan Star, Jiang Xi had to wear a disguise mask to go out. Otherwise, he would be surrounded and asked for his autograph. At this time, in the main hall surrounded by the starry sky in the Zixiao Star region of the Zixiao domain, a man in a green robe with disheveled hair and a man in a suit with a handsome face. They were still sitting opposite each other in the starry sky. The two of them seemed to have not moved in the past few years. In the center of the hall, the colorful light of the Skyspan Mountain was flowing. "Old Chu, look at this little guy. He has made a lot of progress." The man in a green robe was a little surprised. He waved his hand, and the round-robin competition in the Kanglan Star region appeared on the map. The unlucky little guy from 3 years ago? Didn't he see it last time? With his strength, he can at most break into the top 500. The man in armor felt a little bored. "Just watch." The green-robed man smiled. The armored man's eyes narrowed, and he began to take this matter seriously. Although their mission was to supervise the entire 9 Zones Genius battle, the two of them didn't have the same mission. However, Immortal's authority was greater than his. He had some ability to control the heavenly mountain river diagram. Through the sky-piercing mountain and river diagram, he could see the specific situation of the participants. In the cosmos of the Skyspan Mountain River diagram on a giant meteorite, Jiang Xi and a disdainful handsome young man stood opposite each other. Both sides exuded powerful auras and Taoist rhymes circulated. Suddenly, the handsome young man took the initiative to attack. The full moon scimitar in his hand drew an arc, wanting to cut Jiang Xi in half. However, the moment he made his move, Jiang Xi merely chuckled. The area within a radius of 1,000 kilometers was covered by an invisible domain. A sword shadow like a fish shot out from the void behind the young man and pierced through his body like a bolt of lightning. The handsome young man's expression froze and he stopped breathing. Jiang Xi won. His attack was clean and tidy, completely crushing the opponent. In the starry sky palace, the green-robed man, Immortal, smiled and looked at the armored man, Chu Xian. "How is it?" "Sword domain. And it's a perfect sword domain." Chu Xian's eyes lit up. "That's not all. Think about his sword realm 3 years ago." Immortal smiled. "See? What a terrifying speed of improvement. It had only been 3 years. Of course Chu Xian remembered. This little guy called Jiang Xi's sword realm back then was the true meaning of the sword. And now, not only had it become the sword domain, but he'd also cultivated it to perfection. This Jiang Xi can enter the top 300 in the finals. Chu Xian stared at Jiang Xi's figure on the screen and suddenly said, last time he'd been lucky and entered the top 300. This time he'd definitely enter. And the top 300 and the top 500 were two completely different concepts. The immortal only smiled and didn't say anything. What if this little guy had a breakthrough in the finals? Inside the sky-piercing mountain and river diagram, Jiang Xi won easily. In fact, whether he won or not didn't affect him at all, because his ranking in the round-robin competition had already been confirmed as first place. He'd advanced to the finals of the 9 Zones Genius competition. However, Jiang Xi didn't immediately leave the sky-piercing mountain and river diagram. He seemed to be waiting for something. Suddenly, a teleportation force appeared around him. The Milky Way spun and he appeared on a vast starry continent. On this continent, all the young geniuses who'd advanced to the finals were gathered. Including him, there were a total of 3,600 people. Jiang Xi. In the distance, a young boy's figure flashed and appeared in front of Jiang Xi. Mu Ning. Jiang Xi nodded and smiled. You freak, it's only been 3 years. Your sword domain is perfect. Mu Ning's expression was exaggerated. Hey, let's not talk about who's freak. Even if my sword domain is perfect, I'm still not your match. Jiang Xi said unhappily. Haha, at least you know your limits. Mu Ning laughed. It sounded very arrogant, but his eyes were very clean, not the kind that had malicious intentions. Jiang Xi smiled helplessly. There was nothing he could do when encountering such a naive guy. At the same time, he secretly checked the changes on the experience panel. Sword domain October 10th 10. Amplitude 200 remaining experience points. 2,815. 9 million. He was lucky enough to successfully deduce the sword domain a month ago. That was why he could easily win just now. In terms of experience points consumption, he had consumed more than 900 million. Of course, this included the consumption of the Gale domain and the Fire domain. The deduction of the sword domain alone had consumed more than 200 million experience points. The most obvious change this time is that the amplitude has reached 200 times, which is double from before. I just don't know how far away I am compared to that freak Mu Ning. Jiang Xi calculated in his heart. While the two were talking and laughing, the other geniuses of the Blue Star region were also observing and discussing the two of them. Since Mu Ning did not participate in the round-robin competition, they had not seen much of him. However, Jiang Xi was different. Every one of them had fought with Jiang Xi and knew how terrifying Jiang Xi was. Everyone understood that Mu Ning and Jiang Xi were no longer on the same level as them. These two people were aiming for the top 3,600 in the finals. As for them, they were probably just going through the motions. While everyone was bustling with noise and excitement, a figure appeared out of thin air above this starry sky continent. It was a burly man with a long beard and a long saber on his back. His aura was very domineering. As soon as he appeared, an invisible pressure immediately spread out. You're tuning in to the Li Mei's Wuxia Whispers YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.